Folks, did you miss me? I mean, I wasn't really gone. There were new episodes. It's just that I wasn't anyways, welcome back to the show. It is, I think, Tuesday. We're in the old America, the old US of A again. And this is a Vanderpump Rules recap of the reunion part one. And yes, I know it aired last Tuesday, but I was overseas and I didn't get to talk about it. And we got to talk about it to prepare ourselves for part two tonight. And listen, you might be listening to this next week or a month later, but I'm just happy that you're here. I missed you guys. It is so weird to go from doing a show every day where you're talking about something very immediate to putting out interviews that you've kind of done a week or two before and not being able to talk about all of the stuff that is actually happening in the moment. But at the same time, and I know this isn't some big revelation, it's really good to disconnect. And it's especially good to disconnect from this Vanderpump Rules show. It's very good because it is, I don't know if it just, I don't even think I mean, it's toxic, sure, but a lot of our lives are toxic. I just think that it's going to be interesting. You know, like any good band, it needs to go away and try to reinvent their sound to some degree. And there are so many arguments in my own head on a daily basis of where this show should go. And I think what you're seeing here is this kind of, 12 car pileup of where people in the cast think the show should go, where the producers think the show should go, where the audience thinks the show should go. So there is so much push pull in all of those different areas that the actual viewing experience is very underwhelming at times, or at least this first part of the reunion was, which a lot of reunions tend to do that. They build up steam. But when the audience is so primed with Sandoval over these last two seasons, we go in at a 10. The audience goes in at a 10. And it's very interesting. It's a very interesting viewing experience in terms of reality television. And I think it needs to kind of get away from that. And I think truly, I said this before at the finale, is that it needs to start. If you're going to go in on itself in terms of being meta, be meta. Let's talk about it all. Let's talk about it all. Yeah, Lala, let's talk about conversations you had with Katie in the off season. But also just know that's going to put your conversations that you had in private up for discussion as well. And if that's the way the show should go, that's the way the show should go. Listen, welcome to So Bad It's Good with Ryan Bailey. This is your pal Ryan. And by the way, guys, give me a little grace, as they say, in terms of reality show characters. Give me grace today because I am dipping my toe back into the Vanderpump waters, and it is really startling to jump back in after a week off. I know that sounds crazy because it's just a week, but I let me just take you through. So we flew from Amsterdam we flew from Sweden to Amsterdam, and then we had like an hour layover. Had to get to our flight to take us back from Amsterdam to the States yesterday. And we got in and I thought, okay, listen, I'll watch the Vanderpump Rules reunion part one because I have not watched it yet. I had not watched it as of Monday. I'd seen a bunch of clips from Instagram, but then I thought, you know what? It's better just not to watch it. I had watched Summer House because I got a screener of that and that worked over there, the screener, but I didn't get and then I was like, you know what? Why bother with the VPN? Why bother? Like, just let it, just don't worry yourself with it. Just enjoy, go see Taylor, go see all of these beautiful countries and really try to immerse yourself in a vacation. And I did that, but we got in and I was like, okay, I'll watch it and then I'll record it because I got these amazing notes from Juliana Carosa, as always. She took these amazing notes, in which she included the supersized extended Peacock version, which I got to tell you, that Peacock version, we're going to talk about that today. So if you have not seen that, we'll recap that part. And she also did the after show. And those two things add so much to my viewing experience. I don't know if you feel the same way, but I think there's so much information left on the cutting room floor that it is wild, the stuff that gets left out, because I think it really leaves an overall better viewing experience and it makes it a little more, it explains things just a lot more. And it just, to me, it's more entertaining. Now, to the layperson, and by the way, if you're a layperson, you're probably not listening to this podcast. It probably does not matter, right? But I think for us who are all charged up and wanting as much information as possible, it's great. It's great. I watched the initial version, not the supersized Peacock one, but just the regular TV one. And I was like, oh man, I couldn't really the jet lag was starting to sink in. And also I think that depression after you get off vacation and you're like, oh, back to my life, which my life for all, I mean, it's pretty good, right? Like I don't have a lot to, I mean, I have a lot to complain about, but we all do. So, I mean, I get to talk about these shows that I dearly love, but then I was like, what if I don't love these shows? And what if I went overseas and realized I don't love these shows anymore? What if I told you right now, today, we are rebranding the podcast. This is a Taylor Swift podcast now. From here on out, every day we are talking to, no, I'm joking. But I'm joking. We will talk Taylor at some point this week because I do want to talk about those. I saw two Taylor concerts back to back, really blew me away. It was ridiculous. It was fabulous. It was all those things. I know our listeners and my friends Kate and Carol Legayco, they went to the Paris show. So I was thinking about having them on too to talk about it. Maybe we'll just do that as a Patreon. Who knows? And also, guys, patreon.com/so bad it's good. I did 2 huge episodes before I left, but Maritza and Sandra, who I work with, they did like a 2-hour episode talking about Summer House and so many other things. It's up on the Patreon now. And I personally want to talk about last week's Summer House because it just blew me away. I will say I said this yesterday. I think I did watch it after I went to one of Amsterdam's famous cafes where you can, puff, like smoke weed every day. I did, and so I did one of those, and I'm not a big smoke weed every day. I'm not a big one of those guys. I tend to steer away from that, but I did. And then I watched Summer House that night. And I got to tell you, I thought I was watching like 2001. I was like, did Stanley Kubrick direct this? This is holy shit. I was like, my mind was blown. I was like, is this the best thing I've ever seen in my life? Like I was like crying, laughing. I was going through a range of emotions about Summer House. So I do want to talk about that over on the Patreon this week. So, check back over there. So I watched it one time and I was really depressed of watching Vanderpump Rules the first time. And then I watched then I realized, oh no, I watched the wrong one. There was a supersized one as well. And Juliana had taken notes on that, thank God. But I was like, oh no. And I didn't have it in me to watch another hour of Vanderpump Rules because I had watched that and the after show back to back. And I wanted to watch this past week's The Valley. And Maritza and Sandra and Rebecca, they were all like, you know what? Why don't you get a couple hours of sleep before you start recording? Because I was just going to go right into it. But my mind really wasn't making a lot of sense of anything. I couldn't tell you what I watched. I was like, okay, Sandoval's talking. I don't know. Lala's talking a lot. I wasn't really making any connections in my mind. It was just kind of dead. And then I watched The Valley, and I guess I fell asleep halfway through watching The Valley. And I passed out for the entire night. I woke up at 3, very disoriented, and then fell back asleep. And then woke up at 6 and got back to work, watched the Vanderpump Rules supersized, took all my notes on top of Juliana's. And I think I've got a good experience for you today. Now, listen, Madix and Sandra, and, they said, hey, you don't have to do the whole thing. Don't, it's kind of boring. But listen, we like to do things above and beyond. We like to exhaust you. And when I say we, I just mean me. And I think there are so many great things to talk about within this that we gotta go through it. We gotta go through it line by line. Sure, we'll skip some things here and there, but we gotta go through it line by line because my mind kind of exploded a couple different places that I think are just fascinating things to talk about in terms of this, especially going into tonight's part 2 of the Vanderpump Rules reunion. Now, we found out from Scheana, I believe on her Shenanigans podcast, that there's also going to be a Secrets Revealed Never Before Seen episode after the 3rd episode of the reunion. So we will get a 4th week. So I'm scared they're going to drag this out all summer. They're like, we just found 3 minutes of bonus footage. We're going to make a month more of episodes out of it. But we can do it. Also, this week, we have the hard launch of Something About Her. We did the soft launch last week. This will open on the 22nd, which is tomorrow, Wednesday, the 22nd. Something About Her in West Hollywood. Go get your sandwiches. It is funny. I was seeing things online about the soft launch and people were complaining about the sandwiches. And I just like, this is my thesis about a lot of things in pop culture over the last couple of years due to social media is, can we, and if there are kids listening, hi, how are you? Why don't you get out of the room for just one sec while Uncle Ryan talks to your family about something important? Are the kids gone? And also, if the kids are here, get ready to hear some really cool language. Can we, what is it? Can we shut the fuck up? Can we just shut the fuck up? Let's shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up. Yes. Oh my god. The sandwiches don't look right. Oh yeah, shut the fuck up. Can we let things live? Can we let things breathe? Can we not judge an album the first time after we listen to it? Can we let things grow? Can we see where things lead? There will be plenty of time to bitch and moan and to hate things, but can we see how we sit with things? We just bitch and moan, myself included, about everything immediately. And it's so funny. It's just we were bitching and moaning about this sandwich shop not being open. And now that it's open, we have now moved on to potentially bitching and moaning about the looks of the sandwiches. Have you been there and tasted it? No, but I just don't like the look of it. I don't like the look of this ham and Swiss. How dare this sandwich look this thin? It's just so, it just, we are going to pick apart everything so minusculely. And that to me is this podcast as well, that maybe, and I hesitate to say this because you might just turn off right now, is that do we dissect things so intensely now that it takes away the overall flavor of anything? I don't have the answer to that. But what if you know what? Bye guys. Talk to you tomorrow. We'll talk to you on part 2. It is just one of those things that sometimes you're like, well, I mean, listen, I love to bitch and moan about things, but maybe I'll taste the sandwiches first before I complain about the sandwiches, because it just seems like if it's not one thing, it's the other. And I guess the overall thing is that we just have to accept that, right? We have to accept that is the way the world works now, and to ignore it. To shut it down, to realize this is what happens. This is the way of the world. And when I say the world, it usually means the internet, but also remember the internet, hopefully, is not the entire world. There's people out there that listen to this that don't go online. And I'm just like, what's it like to have that kind of sanity, to have that kind of love for yourself, that you don't delve in to the internet of it all? And when you talk about Vanderpump Rules, though, you need to talk about the internet now. It's part of that 360 viewing experience that I always talk about, is that you miss out on what seems like it's growing. It used to be 80% show, 20% internet. And as the years went on, it was 60% show, 40% internet. We've now seemed to have gotten to be where the show is now consisting of 70% internet and 30% the actual show. And what I mean by that, it's everybody, all the cast members' podcast, all of the memes, all of our podcasts, all of the dissection is now more entertaining in certain ways than the actual show. And I find that really interesting because it didn't used to be like that. And that's why I think shows like The Valley are able to be more enjoyable right now, because we have not caught up to full dissection of that yet. We're trying, but right now you've just got what the show is presenting. And we're catching up with new characters. And, sure, you've got Jax and Doute and things like that, but people are finding out about new people. Oh my God. Oh, Janet used to be friends with, or we're really good friends with Scheana. And oh my God, this and this and this. It's really interesting. It provides a new kind of viewing experience, which in a sense is the old viewing experience that we loved with Vanderpump Rules. But part of me worries we'll just destroy that before, it's like we're potentially going to dissect that to death, where it becomes not enjoyable. And my thought was, what I initially, when I started watching all of these reality shows, I guess now it dates back to the Real World season 1, true story. Or when I started watching Bravo, which was, episode 1, season 1 of Real Housewives of Orange County, when it premiered, 18 years ago? It was different. We didn't have all of these outside voices. So you were able to just see what the show presents. And I really think that's why it really needs a strong production team and producers that truly know the story they want to tell. And that's why I think at the end of every season now, it should almost be law that the producers, Alec Baskin, Jeremiah, Natalie, all of the people behind this amazing show should sit down and give us an hour-long discussion about what they tried to present, what they thought worked about the season, and what they thought didn't work. What got away from them, what surprised them. We talk about Sandoval redemption arc, and I told you guys this a couple weeks ago. I don't necessarily believe in that. I believe that they tried to give him a lot of rope, a lot of leeway, but he still used that rope to hang himself time and time again because it was just too quick. It was too soon after the inciting events. And even in this reunion, in the first 7 minutes, he already hangs himself with that rope again by lashing out at Rachel. Fucking coward, dude. I don't even think she had the soul, dude. Because you're equating somebody having a soul to somebody agreeing to be on a reality show. You're equating somebody having a soul as somebody agreeing to not do a podcast talking about it. And that's not what a soul is. It might be ridiculous in its own way, but for Tom Sandoval to call it ridiculous, that is Inception. And I feel like that's a Big Bang Theory where the world will explode. You're like, oh, dude, are you really? I feel like we're losing focus again, Tom. Well, what I got to tell you, dude, Scott Peterson. Okay, Jeffrey Dahmer, dude. Let's get back to what counts. Whew. Sorry, I'm just getting warmed up. I'm trying to get focused here, folks. Whew. Okay, this is a lot. Did you like the first part of the reunion? I didn't really I saw the memes, but I didn't really get involved in the conversation. Now, one would argue that the big moment for me of this whole reunion part one was the stuff that came out towards the end with Lala and Katie. And in regards to a conversation and DMs and text messages between Lala and Katie about Katie potentially being angry at Ariana for certain things and Lala wanting Katie to bring this up on the show. Now, this is what I'm talking about in terms of meta. Now, Katie has released Instagram statements since then about these things. And this is, in rewatching the supersized one, this is the other big revelation I was having, is Summer House, right? And if you don't watch Summer House, it is having a fantastic season. There are so many real relationships on there, real relationships that are forming, real relationships that are flourishing, and real relationships that are crumbling apart and getting destroyed before our very own eyes. And it almost can't help but be real. Like, it'll be stupid too, and they'll still have their party scenes where the music will crank up, and you're like, oh my God, it's like the same 7 people dancing, but they really look like they're having fun. You'll buy into that kind of element, but there's all of these real life scenarios that are happening, real conversations. And that's what I realized Vanderpump Rules doesn't have. Vanderpump Rules for now 3 or 4 seasons has been a lot of, not staged, but a lot of produced scenes. A lot of produced scenes. And what do I mean by that? Let's use an example like Sandoval and Schwartz this season when Schwartz kneels to propose to Sandoval about potentially rooming with him. To me, that is a very staged, forced scene. There might be an element or a kernel of truth to it, but it is a staged thing. It is like, wouldn't this look cool on the camera? Let's do this. They're 11 seasons in. They think they know what works, but it's not real, right? So you've had this show that has had these stage scenes and still been very enjoyable for all intents and purposes, minus a couple of things, right? But then Sandoval happened. But remember, Sandoval was something that Sandoval and Rachel both didn't want on the show. They were hiding this so hard. In fact, they had, cameras were already down when this got discovered at the infamous Tom Sandoval and the Most Extras concert at Tom Tom that one night, which we've heard now relentlessly over and over again. And then 2 days later, they picked back up cameras. But they had already filmed the season where they were still able to not get their reality on screen. They were able to hide it, able to keep it off of screen. And so this Sandoval almost forced this show to be real again. They forced themselves to have real conversations about things. And even to this day, though, I think the cast is so used to producing in certain ways and really shying away from real conversations. You can say like, oh, and I think that's why the meta of it all is fascinating to me, because it almost forces them again to talk about the reality. And the reality is at this point, right, is that Ariana is obviously a fan favorite. And I think for good reason. But you see the cracks that makes with the rest of the cast. You really do. And Lala for being, what she keeps telling as a truth teller. I am a truth. And that's why me and my bitch, Katie, we are truth tellers, yo. You're truth tellers. But I think even you watching back, Lala, you would say, listen, I see from what the audience sees how I would be perceived a certain way. But I don't think she'll ever really admit that. And it comes off like insane jealousy. And it comes off where she, to me, is one of the biggest producers on the show right now. Because even in that conversation with Katie, she was trying to produce a storyline that she wasn't involved in. She was trying to say, Katie, will you come out against Ariana and say, I'm upset that you did this Broadway show without telling me you're potentially behind on rent with something about her. Real fears that Katie, it seemed like, confided in her quote unquote friend, Lala. Lala used that information and tried to bring it on the show. after the fact. I think it was said was this conversation was happening like months before any of the filming. If I'm not mistaken, I could be mistaken, but Lala was trying to produce. Lala was trying to produce. And Lala is a great producer in her own head, but sometimes she leaves out like it's like easy for her to produce when it's somebody else's storyline. It's what we always kind of bagged on Rinna about. It's like Rinna hopping on other people's storylines. Like not a lot is going on. And you like, listen, Lala to me, I was shaking my head in agreement about, and then the supersized one, it really gets into her and Randall's custody agreement, which I found legitimately fascinating. And I know that probably can't be on the show, but to me, that's a storyline because at the end of the day, these shows, we say it again and again, they work because of drama. Like I can agree till I'm blue in the face about how beautiful it is about Lala and raising a family and her new baby that she is having, all of these things that are so beautiful and her fight against Randall and she did the right thing and how brave and all of this stuff, right? But we'll also say a water party and a pin the sperm on the reproductive system to me are produced storylines that have one foot in reality and one foot not in reality at all. It's like Dog the Lizard's funeral. I mean, obviously better, but you know what I'm saying? It's very produced, and that's the stuff that Lala is bringing on, which is her real life, but it is not sometimes the most fascinating. We as an audience might be like, fuck yeah, Lala, hell yeah, because it really is a beautiful thing for her and her family. Does it make a great show? I don't think so, but I hope that's not offensive to anyone because that's not what these shows are built on. I mean, if anything, a lot of the audience's positivity has gone towards Ariana in a lot of ways because we've seen Ariana go through turmoil with a character that we've seen on all 11 seasons of this show, that he did something so inane and brainless and still hasn't really realized what he did or the aftermath of it in a very real sense. Like even at this reunion was another opportunity for like people to sit down and go, Sandoval, what actually did you learn this season? Like we still haven't gotten to like, what did you learn? Like what did you learn? Instead, we got Sandoval literally admitting to us that he's like, I'm not the smartest dude.
I'm not a smart man.
Yeah, we got Forrest Sandoval. I'm not a smart man. I put my PP in Raquel. I don't know. I'm not a smart man, but I do know what love is, Jedi. Kids, if you're listening and you haven't seen Forrest Gump, I don't know what to tell you. I'm fucking old. I love Forrest Gump. Anyways, he was Forrest Sandoval. That's what it's like we had this season where we had all these women turn on each other when, like I said, it could have been the easiest, funnest season in the world with these girls easily just gut punching and kicking these men for how dumb our minds work. Right. But we had women turn against each other, and you'll see these little, like almost these looks of recognition from Sandoval, even at the reunion when he's like, oh shit, dude, you're making my job way easier, dude. You got they're fighting with you. Like the face he like when Lala and Katie started having that conversation, they cut to Sandoval, and Sandoval literally was like, you could tell in his mind was like, just don't say anything, dude. Let them hang themselves. I know you want to jump in and say something stupid that will make no sense at all, but that'll get the spotlight back on me. Just let them fight, let them fight, let them fight. And that's what's happening. And it's so frustrating because you're like, what? I'm genuinely curious. Let's meta it up. Like, Tom, what have you done? It seems like you get more therapy at these reunions than you actually do from your real therapist, if that person actually exists. Because even Lisa, like, is taking you through what you're doing and how you're viewing things. And it seems like the most basic therapy of all time. And it seems like these are new thoughts to you. So sometimes I question what you have learned, what you have done besides going out on the road. And in the after show, he talks about, dude, I was out there on the road. Everyone hated me, dude. I had to face them every night. But that's just narcissistic like anything else. Nobody asked you to come to their town. You did that of your own volition. This wasn't literally, which he should have called that tour the apology tour, which I mean, I still think that's a genius name for Tom Sandoval and any tour he does. It's just call it the apology tour. But he talks about like, look at dude, I faced him, dude. I guess in a sense, but you did it. You got paid for. I mean, there's so many ridiculous aspects to Tom Sandoval at this point, and we always knew there was ridiculous elements to Tom Sandoval, right? That's kind of what we loved about him, or the people that did like him. That's what I loved about him, was that he was ridiculous. But the ridiculous took such a dark turn, and it seems like he can't shake himself from his ridiculousness. He would rather put together the most fitted Zara woman's pantsuit than actually try to have one of the fittest minds that you possibly could have after you make these kind of stunning, horrible decisions in your life of looking at patterns of behavior. I mean, that would be a whole episode of the reunion right there of Andy going, okay, let's go through your relationships, Tom. And we're not going to do it in your personal life before Vanderpump, but let's just look at them since Vanderpump. Let's start with Kristen Doute. Let's go with Miami Girl. Like, we've always heard now Ariana talk about Miami Girl and how Tom, had convinced Ariana to like bend the truth a little bit. Let's get it from Tom. Let's like, why don't, these are things that are fascinating. If we are putting Sandoval to bed, why don't we actually send it off on a burning pyre? Why don't we get the answers to these questions? That's all I got to say about that.
I'm not a smart
Man. I'm gonna keep playing the "I'm not a smart man." I was sad we didn't see Hippie the dog out there. I thought Hippie the dog would have a segment. We do see Joe in tonight's episode, part 2, where even in the previews, Joe's crying. I'm like, you didn't have to be that mean, Katie. It is funny. You give enough rope, like I said with Sandoval, these people hang themselves. I mean, like, people tell the truth on themselves more often than not. And Joe, just, you can tell, like, even her internet presence is spinning out of control. I was trying to keep up a little bit. It looks like her dog was sick and she was trying to get GoFundMe money, but then a lot of people had questions about that. I think I'm going to be on Jolene Lunzer's YouTube show tomorrow, which I'm sure we'll talk about this. Jolene Lunzer on YouTube. She's amazing. She's been on this show. I've been on her show. So check in with that. I have so many questions to even ask her about that because I think she's kept up to date with the Joe of it all. But I think sometimes it's one of those things is like, Joe, the fact that we as an audience get even confused why Joe was treated negatively by Katie is shocking to me. There are times when it is okay to be angry with somebody. It is okay to not let somebody in your life. It is okay. And especially if there are reasons. It wasn't like there was no reason. There was a reason why Katie was shitty to Joe. Like there is like as Brock says in this reunion, actions have consequences. Actions have consequences. We all face them. I do, you do, the cast of Vanderpump Rules does. And Joe seems to lack this, it's that mix of not wanting to take full accountability for something that she really wanted, which is the love of Schwartz, but also then mixed with the getting a little taste of low-level fame and all of a sudden people wanting to hear from you and wanting to egg you on into speaking. That's got to be so alluring. We're watching it in real time of somebody being really affected by this low level of attention. She loves it. She loves it. She loves going live on Instagram. She loves it. And you got to kind of watch that kind of stuff. I would imagine you should keep your feet to the ground, especially in your first season of something. But I feel like every time she goes live on Instagram, it chips away a little bit more at that she won't be on next season. Like if she keeps going the way she's going, which I think she genuinely wants an offer, even if she says she wouldn't do it, she genuinely wants an offer. I think Joe initially said she wasn't going to come on Vanderpump Rules to begin with, but then she did. No never means no in terms of celebrity, right? Okay, I know you're 30 minutes in, but listen, let me go, man. I haven't talked with you guys in a long time. Let me have this. Let's have fun together, okay? Just getting warmed up. It's going to be a long week of shows, so I had a lot to get off my chest. That was the opening statement. Let's get to the actual recap, baby. Thanks once again to Juliana Carosa for taking these brilliant notes all week long. Oh my God. Oh, and folks, I'll talk more about the trip later, but yes, I know Watch What Crappens was at the Stockholm Taylor Swift show. We were at the same show. I was texting with Ronnie. I knew beforehand. We tried to meet up. It didn't work. We were in completely separate sections. And I got to tell you, I was just really enjoying the show. So I didn't want to, anyways, we will meet up next time we were overseas or some time in the US, but they are amazing. And I was so excited to be in the same vicinity as them. But I was texting with Ronnie and we were making goofy faces watching Taylor, and they are the best. And it would be great if just all Bravo podcasters went to Taylor Swift overseas at some point. But then we never actually hooked up. It was just like, oh, Danny's over here and Sexy Unique Podcast is over here. That's the dream. That's the goal. So shout out to Watch What Crappens as always. Oh, also, if you ever go overseas and then you fly back and you have jet lag and you watch Vanderpump Rules and The Valley and then fall asleep, you're going to have nightmares. The nightmare I had was that I was at the Valley, the cabin they were at in Big Bear, where they were all fighting. So I was there, and I think I was talking to Janet and trying to escape Jax. And then Vanderpump Rules somehow came into it. I think Sandoval was there, but then all of a sudden I was also at a Taylor Swift show, but Chelsea Handler was opening. I don't even know where Chelsea Handler came into it. I don't think I was watching anything with Chelsea Handler. I'm just saying, be careful what you watch if you have jet lag. It's going to really come back to haunt you in some really horrible, horrible ways. Okay, so finally, here we Vanderpump Rules, Season 11, Episode 16, Reunion Part 1. This is the description the cable company gives us. Sandoval defends his poor decisions. The word defends shouldn't be in there, should it? Sandoval defends his poor decisions when he gets called out in the press. Ariana builds a life on Broadway with her new boyfriend, but questions remain about the shared house in LA. Scheana and Brock discuss the turbulence in their marriage. Um, Also, by the way, you guys got to watch the extended and you got to watch the after show because there are so many, and it comes up in, I think, one of the extended scenes of this first part of Lala and Schwartz and their mild flirtation this season, which I told you guys about. Every scene was just way too flirtatious for my liking. But Lala, if you are listening and if you truly care about saving this show, which you keep being concerned about having a show and really providing for your family, I think Scheana's concerned. I'm sure you all are concerned. Here's what you do. You don't self-produce other scenes. You self-produce your own scenes. And I got to tell you, you know what's going to help save this show? Fuck Schwartz. That's right. You know what? Throw yourself on Schwartz. You got to do it for the sake of the show. Crazier things have happened. I'm telling you, if you sleep with Schwartz, this show's got another 4 seasons in it. I'm telling you. And you know Schwartz would be like, I get, yeah, you can see it. Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah, like, just do it. You want to, if you're really that concerned, don't worry about Katie. Don't worry about Ariana. Worry about yourself and what you can do for the show and what you can do, because the show already has producers, right? But what you can do for the show is you can hook up with Schwartz. You hook up with Schwartz, man, I'm telling you, you are going to get a reaction. I truly believe that. That's just my thoughts. We're backstage before the reunion begins, as we're always, that's how we start these things. And Andy's back there with Lisa, and Andy's like, did you see the last 2 episodes of the show? I haven't seen the final piece of the last episode, Andrew. And Andy's like, well, we're going to watch it now all together. So that's the big thing, right? And we don't probably get to see that until the third part, unfortunately, but that is what's going to rock it, because Ariana admits that she has not seen these episodes. She has not watched this season, and she defends why. But also, a lot of people had questioned, because I had mentioned when I was on Shenanigans like a month and a half ago or something, Scheana said something to me, and she said that it was probably going to get cut out. So I never went back. I don't listen to things that I'm on usually, because I get nervous, but I think this part got cut out. A lot of people had asked me, like, oh, what was the thing that she said that you were that made you think differently? She had told me and Kiki that day, because I had asked about watching those final episodes, and she said Ariana had not watched those episodes. And that did give me pause, but it didn't give me pause in like, F you, Ariana. It gave me pause in the sense that, when you're going into a reunion, I imagine for all of the cast, but especially when you're on the hot seat, like a Sandoval, or even by a byproduct of it, like Ariana, you gotta prepare as much as you can, because you don't know what's coming for you. Now, Ariana says, and I agree with her as well, is that, this is very psychologically taxing. She's trying to protect her happiness. She's on Broadway. All of these things I completely agree with. I was just worried as somebody that does care for Ariana and care about Ariana, and feel like she got really sometimes placed in a very weird situation. And I don't want to hear, yes, she got Broadway. Yes, brand deals. We've already gone over that. But still, it really has got to be shocking. So when I had heard from Scheana on that episode that she had not watched these episodes, I got immediately worried, because then she's going to be hit with this stuff at the reunion. So you're going to get a very real reaction from Ariana, probably in the third what I'm guessing is the third episode when they all watch it together, and she sees the things that Lala says. She sees Scheana agreeing with that, and then we all watch together as Tom Sandoval laughs and goes, "Ha, it helps me, doesn't it?" That we're gonna watch all of that together, which is great for the reunion. But Ariana admitting that she doesn't watch it, it's another thing. And at this point, maybe she just doesn't care. Maybe her personal health actually matters more to her, which means she's a very well adjusted person. And I think that's another reason why some people don't like her, because she does actually try to protect her peace, which is not very popular, and especially not popular on a reality show. But a lot of people had asked me what was one of the things that Scheana said that potentially got cut out. That was it. So I had known that about a month and a half ago, and that kind of gave me pause because I was like, oh, damn, what a bad way to go in thinking, and at the same time, I know Ariana's online, so she does see what we're all talking about. And that's the other funny thing too, is that Ariana has had the benefit of she doesn't have to talk shit about Tom Sandoval. And she hasn't. I mean, she could have. A lot of people in her situation would have, but she didn't. But I also think Ariana's smart enough to know that we will do that for her in a lot of ways, because we see this kind of grave, what we think of as a grave injustice on reality television, that we're all going to do this. She doesn't need to do it. It's a very powerful position to be in where you don't have to join in on it because other people see it, and we will scream that at the top of our lungs, so she doesn't have to. So I think she was aware of certain, obviously, plot points and beats, but she didn't watch it with her own eyes, which can be really kind of dangerous going into a reunion. Everybody is getting seated. Ariana, Katie, Lala, James to the right of Andy and Lisa, Sandoval, Schwartz, Scheana, and Brock to the left. And Andy is like, no, that's my Brock. Andy's like, we've all been through such an interesting shared experience for over a decade that we wanted you to watch this ending together and then get your real-time reactions. Now we're seeing clips from all 3 episodes. I like that people were kind of groaning when he's like, we're going to watch the ending together and get real-time reactions. And everybody's like worried. And it's like, guys, he didn't ask you to like do basic reading or basic math. That would really fuck you guys over. He's just asking you to watch the ending. It's like, we're asking you to do a basic math equivalency test. Oh, dude, no way, dude, no. But everybody's kind of like, what the fuck? So those are previews of what's to come. We have Andy to Ariana. What's your reaction to that? Ariana crying after watching it, going, it hurts my feelings a whole lot. It really does. And then Sandoval saying, you know me well enough to know that it's not acting, Ariana. And Ariana's like, I don't. And Sandoval, with his Sandoval tears, you knew me, Ariana. I don't. And he covers his eyes and bawls. And then Ariana, with her voice cracking, I just want you away from me. I just want you gone. That's a real fucking reaction. That's how we would be in those scenarios, right? We get the Chiron up that says 7 hours earlier. Coming up on the Vanderpump Rules 3-part reunion, we have the cast arriving to Avenue 6 Studios East Stage. James Schwartz and Sandoval arrived. DJ James Kennedy's like, reunion day again. It's not guys' night. It's reunion day. And Schwartz is like, I know, man. I'm having PTSD flashbacks. Remember how primed they all were for last reunion? Remember Schwartz with his pill bottle that he like threw across the room? Remember how rabid, I mean, Lala calls like the fans rabid, but remember how rabid Lala was and how rabid DJ James Kennedy was? It is so much more subdued in this reunion in the beginning. I mean, the only one that actually gets kind of worked up in this first part is Lala. And I think that's what makes Lala a very dynamic character. And I've said this so many times, is because she is so reactionary, but she speaks clearly. She speaks forcefully. Sometimes I find that it's bullshit, but she does it so clearly and forcefully that you are almost like, oh, I'm going to pay attention to the one that is screaming the loudest. And that is sometimes very, that can be a little, you can be dismayed by that, but it is, you're drawn to that. Now, Lala, obviously, I mean, she's somebody that joined, she hasn't been there for the full 11 seasons. She's one of the only characters that was cast on this show that actually made it work. And it gives a little bit of insight into potentially Lala's mentality on this, is somebody that's always trying to, or feeling like they have to prove themselves, feeling like they are not part of the initial Beatles of reality TV or the Friends cast that the initial cast felt they were. So maybe there is this aspect of always trying to prove themselves on this. I could be completely wrong, but sometimes that's how it reads. Like she's trying to go above and beyond, and almost like I say, trying to be the producer's pet of like, listen, I really want to be here. I really want to do this. And she speaks, like I said, so forcefully and clearly that you sometimes go, well, maybe she knows what she's talking about. But then, no, I don't believe she does. I believe she's just as lost as a lot of other people in this cast. She just knows how to communicate better in certain ways. But that doesn't mean that she's right. But she does make some points. Let's, call a spade a spade. Lisa is in her dressing room with Sandoval, and Lisa's like, "How are you feeling, dear boy?" And Sandoval's like, "I didn't get a lot of sleep last night. I never do before these things." Which kind of means like I was partying. It's the same thing with the Nick Viall interview. "Oh, dude, I was up all night, dude." Yeah, you were up all night. I get it. We see the ladies arrive. Scheana's carrying her gold dress in her arms, like it's gonna break. Ariana to a stylist about her dress. The black one's in there. The black one gives me neck vagina. It's like Donald Trump, because if you notice Donald Trump's neck, whether you're a Republican or a Democrat, I think we can all agree, the neck does sometimes look like, yeah, a vagina. I think we can all agree. Okay, Schwartz to Lisa is like, "You can cut the tension with a knife, Lisa." And Lisa's like, "Yes." And then Andy to Sandoval, "How do you feel about seeing Ariana tonight?" Sandoval's like, "Oh, I don't know, dude. A little nervous. I don't know." Then Lala to Ariana and Katie in another room. Lala goes, "We get out there," and a boxing like ring bell dings. She points her fingers to her eyes and then at them, at Katie and Ariana, and then raises her fists in a fight mode. And Katie's kind of like, and Ariana gives like, "Okay, Lala." Like, what the fuck? Like, let's turn it on for the cameras. No, let's just be fucking real. We don't need to turn it on. And by the way, maybe the realest Lala will ever be is when the cameras go on. A lot of people like Howard Stern or David Letterman will say, well, the real me is when I'm on air or when I did my talk show. Maybe Lala's real her are these moments. And then off camera, she's a completely different person. Like I've told you, like even the handful of times I've met or been around Lala, she is the nicest, sweetest person. So funny, so endearing. It's not activated at all, and it really does. That's why it does shock me when she gets into these modes when you see it on TV, because it's like, wow, you sometimes you can't see that coming. You can't see it's the same person. But also it's like, what the fuck? Like, we're gonna turn it on and box out there. Then we have a flashback to episode 2 of the reunion where Joe's in tears. "I've never felt ganged up by anybody except for you, Katie." Put my finger. And Katie was like, "I was dealing with a lot of shit." That's no excuse. Yeah, that kind of actually, that's the definition of an excuse. We're going to skip past these little clips because we'll talk about them at another time. The crew stand by for 3, 2, 1. Andy. "Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Vanderpump Rules Season 11 reunion. I'm Andy Cohen, here with a group of people in desperate need of a mediator since Anne wasn't available tonight." Anne, Tom Sandoval's ex-assistant, now working with Ariana. He's like, "I'm going to see if I can do the job. Hi, Lisa. How are you?" "I'm good. Thank you. I have no real reason to be here, but I demanded they give me camera time." And he's like, "Does it feel different reuniting this year than it did last year?" "Last year, yes, it was pretty scary at this moment." How scared do you truly believe Lisa Vanderpump was in those moments? Or do you believe that Lisa was like, "Yes, it's all according to plan. It's working. I'll be able to use this to get my Hulu show Vanderpump Villa and then my show with Gordon Ramsay, and I'll be able to release Woof, a new sexy restaurant from the twisted minds of me and Nick Lane in Lake Tahoe." We get a flashback to 1 year ago where this is what I'm talking about in terms of being rabid. DJ James Kennedy standing up going, "Creepers, creepy, creepy." And Katie yelling, "You're not being honest." And Schwartz is like, "I'm being honest." And Ariana going, "You're not being honest." And Katie's like, "Well, great for him." And Sandra's like, "He's being honest." And James standing and pointing, "Boo, boo." And then Lisa going, "James, if you don't shut up, we're going to be here for 2 days." We go back to today's filming, and Lisa's like, "But there's still quite a lot to work out for sure." And Andy's like, "Yes. Hey, Schwartz, I see some new plants around here. Were these your doing?" Because Schwartz had a plant fetish this season. And Schwartz looks around at the set, and there's, some plants, and he's like, "I had a say in it. Yeah." What does that even mean? Like, what do they call the cast and go, "Hey, are there any totems of this season that it would be great if it was just plants and like weird lightning bolts everywhere. Andy's like, Sandoval, how are you feeling tonight? And Sandoval's like, well, check out this fitted Zara pantsuit. Feeling pretty good by the looks of it, right? And he goes, a lot better than last year. Thank you. I'll tell you that much. But also, I haven't cheated with anyone in the last year on this stage, so feeling pretty good. And Andy's like, very good. Hey, Katie, you look beautiful. As of today, do we have an open sandwich shop? And Katie's like, as of today, it will be open. And they pretty much got it right. And then Andy's like, okay, I will tell you what is open, and that is Broadway. Andy says Broadway instead of Broadway. Is Broadway. Ariana, you are breaking box office records in Chicago. Congratulations. Are you having fun? This is an extended scene right here. Ariana goes, I'm having the time of my life. Since the day I was born, I wanted to be on stage. If I could do it every day from now until forever, I would. And Andy's like, well, I have a feeling you can. And Lala's like, she belongs there and not on our show, Andy. Get her to Broadway for good. No. By the way, I do think that it is one of the coolest things is like once you do show that you're somewhat of a box office draw, Broadway does become a real possibility. Like you could actually make that your life. That's a pretty exciting, as an actor, one of my teachers always said, you got to have a tool belt of all these kind of tools that you collect over your years of learning of things that you can do. And now, being on a Broadway show of launching something successfully like that, that's in her tool belt of something that not a lot of people have. It's really, really nice on a resume. And he's like, Lala, much to celebrate in your life right now. I hear you bought a new house. Congratulations. And Lala's like, I did. Thank you. Which she should have said thank you to Ariana and Tom and Rachel and Daryl and sending it to Daryl. And they flash a few pictures of the nice looking house. And Andy goes, and just in time for the new arrival due September 1st. Mazel tov to you. How exciting. Hi, Scheana. I hear you and Brock also bought a house near Lala's. Where's that? And they flash a video of Brock and Scheana in their amazing house, very different than the Marina Del Rey tiny house or tiny little place. And Sheena's like, yeah, it's like 5-minute walk away from Lala in the valley. Also, I will say this because it comes up later in the episode, and I truly believe Scheana genuinely freaks out about shit like this, and she talks about it. But she's like, talks about the thought of Brock and Lala potentially hooking up and, worrying about that and being in the comment section and reading all these comments of like saying, look at how Brock lights up when he sees Lala. Maybe don't move 5 minutes away from Lala if that's even a thought in your head. Why make it potentially easier on anything for that to ever possibly happen, which I know it would never, ever happen. But if you are worried about it, don't move 5 minutes away from the person that you're potentially worried on your husband cheating with. I know that's dark, but like if you are, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm so worried about it. We moved into Lala's attic. Andy goes, Brock, great to see you. Andy, hey. I feel like we got to know you a little more this season. Yeah, I'm just a pig farmer that used to be Mormon and I wear budgie smugglers. I think going through all of that and being held accountable and turned out being the best version of myself. I'm not even doing Irish anymore. Now I'm just doing like a pirate. Anyways, Ariana gives him a big smile and Andy pauses and goes, hey, so don't fuck it up, Brock. And they all laugh. And he goes, last but not least, you got to end with number one sometimes. Hey, DJ James Kennedy. Sir Andrew, hello. What are you serving today? I'm bringing the Kennedy. He's wearing a very fitted pink suit. And he's like, I love it. Okay, I want to dive right in. After a shocking end to last season and an internet-breaking scandal, I think most fans of the show were floored to see that Tom and Ariana were still living together under the same roof. And thank God they did, right, you guys? Because they actually got a storyline out of it. We get a flashback to a lot of this stuff about living with your ex. And he says, Ariana, let's get into the house situation. A few months ago, you filed a petition action with the courts in order to force the sale of the house. What's the latest? And Ariana's like, I'm not allowed to talk about it, unfortunately. And Lala's like, fuck you, Ariana. He goes, I know it's a hot topic. I wish I could, but I can't given the latest on it. It's ongoing. It really does have to be infuriating that she's like, I would imagine, like, listen, all of these people get paid well, right? Not as well as you would think, but they get paid pretty well. I would be so fucking livid if I then also had to pay money. I had to pay money to for the house lawyers, and then I have to pay money to fight Rachel because of her shit. Like, it's just such wasted money. Lawyers should just be called like like money you shouldn't have to pay, but do. That's not a good. My brain's not really working. But you know what I'm saying? I would be so pissed to finally have like getting real money after you got real money, but now I'm getting real money, and that real money is going to like bullshit lawyers. And guess what? Lawyers ain't cheap, man. Lawyers are not cheap at all. It is insane. Um, and he's like, okay, I know. And then turns to Sandoval, I'm assuming you can't either. And Sandoval's like, what did Sandoval's like, no, dude, I'll talk about it. Yeah, fine. Yeah. No, he goes, yeah, no, it's in litigation, dude. It's in litigation right now. And Lisa's like, are you still there though? Huh? Have you been away? And Ariana's like, well, I've been in an Airbnb and living in New York. And then he's like, so you're no longer both living there. And Ariana's like, at the current moment, no, I'm not. I did not spend the night there last night, for example. And, it'd be great if Sandoval was like, where the fuck did you stay, dude? I was worried sick that you didn't come home to the shared house, even, like, dude, like, I got those 18-year-olds out of there early because I thought you were going to be there, dude. So fucking rude what you're doing to me, dude. In an extended scene, Andy's like, right. Tom, I hate to pull out the history books, but I remember when Jax cheated on Brittany, you told him he should leave the apartment. And we get a flashback to 2017 of a scene between Sandoval and Jax. And Sandoval's like, you guys do not need to be in that apartment sleeping together at all, dude. You can't do that, man. You guys are broken up. And Sandoval in this scene goes, well, I probably would feel differently if it was like a 5-bedroom, house instead of a 1-bedroom apartment. So it's always different when you get called out. Well, no, the difference is, dude, it was like the different season, I think. Yeah. It was like chillier at night. I don't know. Andy asks Ariana, is your stuff still there? And Ariana shakes her head, yes. And that's the end of that extended scene. And Andy asks about if the Lego art is still there. We get a flashback to a scene with Scheana during the season where she threw a towel over the Lego art. And I don't know. You can see why certain scenes were cut. You're like, okay, yeah, LOL. And he goes, you both seem to live in mess. And Lisa's like, chaos, chaos. And Andy goes, I mean, are you typically so messy? And they show a lot of pics of the havoc and the piles. And listen, I am obviously a very, I wish I could be a neat person, and I'm just not. And it's one of those things. It's good to have a lot of self hatred, and I hate that about myself, but it's true. Like, I look at these pictures and it's bad, but I'm like, okay, yeah, I could, Ariana says, I was in a purging phase. I was pulling everything out. I have a feeling when I eventually leave that place, I probably won't take any of those clothes with me. By the way, Ariana, if that is true, I think we need to have a little yard sale, right? Or maybe like a something about her sale where you can go out back, you can buy like 2 sandwiches and you can get like look at Ariana's old clothes and see if you want anything. I don't know, just an idea. Andy to Tom says, right. Do you have hoarder tendencies yourself, Tom? And Sam was like, I do, dude, but I keep my room pretty clean. Schwartz said it. Billy said it. Well, hey, if Billy Lee said it, we flash back to that scene where Billy Lee entered Sandoval's room and Sandoval's like, what's up? And Billy Lee's like, it's like clean in here. Yeah, ish. That's great, man. You keep your room that you moved into clean, but everything, I don't know. Anyways, DJ James Kennedy's like, I feel like who does the cleaning in the house though? Anne, or do you guys have other cleaners? So there's a cleaning person. We call that person Anne too. There's Anne, but then Anne too does the dusting. And DJ James Kennedy's like, I know you might have your 10-minute cleanup session, but like that doesn't really count. I like don't have cleaners. I keep my house clean. And Sam's like, that's the thing is like, I know my weaknesses, dude. Like I can be very passionate in the moment and I like will be messy. So that's why I have somebody do that for me. And that's very much like Tom. He is very passionate, but very messy. Because he like Rachel was very messy. Whereas he didn't have somebody to clean that up, so his passion turned completely messy with the Rachel situation. Lala says, "Well, I like attributing messy to passion. I'm going to start doing that. I got really passionate last night, couldn't get around to the house." And Sandoval doesn't get the joke. He's like, "Yeah, dude, yeah." Andy goes, Schwartz, in San Francisco, you got down on one knee and agreed to be Tom's roommate. We flash back to that scene. And Andy's like, now that you have Ariana's blessing, are you going to move into that house? I don't know. That was a little sticky. And Andy's like, a little? All right. A lot sticky. A part of me is like, what if I never get to propose again? Katie rolls her eyes. Ariana's even like, that's the thing about Schwartz, man. He knows he says these cheesy things and he knows it works in his advantage because you can't ever imagine somebody actually fucking having the gall to say shit like this. Like, what? You know, if you really break it down, it doesn't make any kind of fucking real sense at all. Like, do you really think in any part of Schwartz's imagination, he thought it would be cool to get down on one knee again to ask Sandoval to live with him or to live with him because he thought he might never get married again? It makes no fucking sense. And that's what a lot of these guys in Vanderpump Rules and a lot of us guys in real life, including myself, we just say shit and then it gets broken down. And you're like, well, that doesn't make any damn sense at all. That's what is shtick. So he's like, I just wanted to remember what it feels like. But anyways, but also, I go back and forth because it's a beautiful home. I miss having a backyard, but like, I have some reservations about living there, just given the history. just give, Rachel's still alive, but it would be great if the ghost of Raquel haunts the, like, Rachel's there, but the ghost of Raquel haunts the place where she's like, Sandoval, come hold me in the guest room. Also, I did think about this at Katie and Tom's old place. Didn't they bury their lizard dog in the backyard? Did they take dog with like, I guess what I'm asking is, whoever owns that new place, is dog still in the back? Is the lizard's gravesite still in the backyard of that place? Like, do you ever think, do you guys ever think about that? I'm not a smart man, but that is what I think about sometimes. Lisa's like, why do you want to live together? Why? You're both grown-ups, for goodness sakes. You do that when you're 20. And Joyce is like, honestly, we were looking for an investment. Honestly, we were... Sorry, you got... Honestly, sorry. Honestly, we were looking for an investment. Honestly, we were looking for an because the reason why we the reason why that's fun, we were looking for an investment property. Don't you already have 2 investment properties with you have 5% of Tom Tom, and then you have Schwartz and Sam. Honestly, we the investment properties have been going so well. We wanted to expand our shitty portfolio. we we were looking for an investment. Can you imagine the loan officer at Wells Fargo? Like, do you have any information on your previous investment? I was doing some research on your investment properties. Does Tom Sandoval perform at all of his investment properties? If we give you money to buy a house, can we guarantee that he won't fucking cheat with underage people? Sorry. It's so ridiculous. I'm sorry, guys. I'm so sorry. Sorry, that wasn't that. I'm sorry. Okay. He's like, honestly, we were looking for an investment property I'd like to buy. And then Sandoval goes, my dad's in his 60s. He has roommates. Like, Sandoval's like defending this, and I don't want to, like, listen, but it's like, yeah, that's probably not the best example to use. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, that's like a little bit of a red flag potentially too, but yeah. Anyways, Andy gives like a nod, like, okay, yeah. And Lisa cringes. He's like, okay, hard to understand, but okay. And Schwartz is like, I've put $100,000 into rent in the past 2 years, and I feel so salty about that without building any equity. The only equity I've built is in Joe's vagina. Hey-oh, up top. Just kidding. Lisa's like, so you want to buy something together? And Lala's like, well, that's intense. And Lisa's like, you're actually going to buy something as a couple? And then he's like, what could go wrong? And everyone laughs. It's just so goofy. It's so goofy. It's like, I just get scared that in like 2 years, all of a sudden Sandoval is going to like have amassed like a $44 million like loans to people. Like I just get nervous. You just get nervous for certain people when I see like the fog machines or the rehearsal space at a Tom Sandoval and the most extras. Like you're like, what, man? What? How much money could you possibly be bringing in? I don't know. And he goes, all right, we're going to leave it there. That's my favorite. Hey, drink every time Andy says, we're going to leave it there, or moving on, or what's the other one? Not pivot, but what does he always say? Anyways, he goes, this year, everyone in the gang, the fun gang, decided to come back to the show except for Rachel, who opted out. Now, he really hits opted out, and I think that's a very intent phrase right there, opted out, because Rachel was offered to come back on. Because remember, they are, Rachel is pursuing legal avenues in terms of a lot of things with the show and is part of Bethany Frankel's reality reckoning. Shout out to Bethany. She's single again. Now, I knew Bethany was single again a couple of months ago, and I was sworn to secrecy, and I didn't say anything. So pat myself on the back for keeping that secret. But I knew her and Paul had broken up, but she is single and ready to mingle. So, by the way, Bethany, if you really want attention, maybe you should hook up with Tom Sandoval at a certain point. Andy says, Lisa, when the season started, did you think that Rachel was going to come back? And Lisa's like, all of her actions were so kind of unpredictable. I really didn't know, but all this nonsense on a podcast, the only podcast I listen to, is so bad it's good. It's so charming. He nails it. But Rachel, her denigrating everyone, it's absolutely ridiculous. I like that Vanderpump Rules, in a sense, is like the mob. It's like, the fucking Godfather. It's like, this is the business we've chosen. You can either participate in the business or get the fuck out. Sandoval's like, you listen to that thing, Letha? Well, I don't listen to it. I mean, from what I've been told, this would be great if Ken stumbles. I do listen to it. Oh, I can't believe she's made an entire podcast about this show. I can't believe that. Ken, please don't interrupt me while I'm reunioning. I'm sorry, Lisa. I'm just going to go over here with the jokes. I can't believe that. Andy's like, Sandoval, before she stopped speaking to you, was it your expectation that she would return? And Sam was like, that's a great question. I wasn't sure, Andy. I always encourage her to take some time away from everybody, including myself, dude, and come to, her decision that way. I'm the most understanding. I completely encouraged everything she did until she stopped answering the fucking phone in the fucking mental health facility. It was my birthday, Andy. I couldn't even get a fucking birthday wish. Dude, I didn't sleep with people for 3 days because I was waiting for her, dude. Billy Lee said it, dude. She's fucking selfish, and we all know it. Right, Lisa? And he's like, looking back on the last reunion, do any of you have any regrets about your conversations with her? And Lala goes, as time passes, there's healing that happens. And I think had she come back, we would have had a very productive conversation. But I stand beside everything that I said at the reunion. Lala was the one that immediately texted out, remember at the end of the first, right, was the first episode of the season, in the back of the Tom alleyway, which looks like a power plant. And Andy, looking at Ariana, goes, well, you too? And Ariana's like, oh, absolutely. I mean, I had the courage to stand up to my perpetrators, and I cannot believe I even showed up that day. Ariana, very smart in the choice of words, because perpetrators is such a strong word, but in a sense, that's what they were to her. And it also reframes this conversation that is starting to slant towards, should we be applauding Rachel? Should we be rethinking our opinions on Rachel? And Ariana reminding us of like, listen, this happened to me. I was the one that showed up. Like, this happened to me. And really immediately reminds them in that room and us, the audience. And Andy goes, well, I would assume it was quite difficult for her too to show up and face everyone. And Lala's like, well, I think credit needs to be given to her with that, because I'm very proud of Ariana for coming and facing something that was very difficult. She had a solid support system physically in the room and outside, right? And little Lala's like, I fucking stand behind Ariana, bitch. But this is the fourth wall meta groundbreaking, like the fourth wall breaking that I want to see more of, is this talking about it like a football game of like, well, the support coming in, this is what we had, and this is da-da-da. Now we know, sorry, you guys, I'm trying to go through this and not pause for the coughing, so don't ding me on the coughing. It's just, the traveling was hard on my voice. So, yes, Lala is true that Ariana had a solid support system in that room, outside of that room, and it was probably tough for Rachel in a way, but remember, Tom was really, Tom, it never was in doubt that he was going to show up because Tom, at the end of the day, his first love is himself, his second love is the show. And he is going to throw himself in the way of that and always kind of make it seem like he's a hero for showing up to these things and putting himself in harm's way when he actually did put himself in harm's way. But he's thinking about putting himself in harm's way in terms of like in front of the audience. Now he convinced Rachel to show up and also added to that story or the love story he was presenting her with of like, it's me and you against the world, dude. And I'm sure that is pretty intense to get. And let's also be very clear is that Rachel did think she loved Tom, like really did think she loved Tom. And we'll talk about that more because I have some thoughts about that in some of these lines that are talked about. But Lala's like, for Tom and Raquel to show up now, that I was like, damn, I would consider myself a tough bitch. I don't think I could do that. How tough do we think Lala truly is? Like, I think she's brave. I think the Randall stuff, like I'm like bravery off the charts, but I don't think she's tough in the sense that she thinks she's tough. If I think right behind Sandoval, she's the one that cries the most quickly, immediately. Maybe Scheana's third on that, but I would say Lala's second. I think she's brave, but I don't think of her as a tough bitch. I think it's another one of those show don't tell, and she tells us she's a tough bitch more than she shows it, if that makes sense. In my opinion, you guys could disagree. Sandoval's looking back, I think she's a fucking coward, dude. Ariana and Lisa are both like, zoinks. Even Ariana's like, oh, dude. She's like OJ Simpson, dude. Like, I'm sorry to say it. And I think her sitting there preaching to everybody like she's moving on, but still talking relentlessly about me and everybody is just fucking ridiculous, dude. That, of course, would be Tom Sandoval's opinion. We talked about, yeah, I think it's a little weird in the sense of moving on to keep doing it. But I mean, she's going where the money, I guess, takes her, she's following the money. I mean, I think it's like Joe in some ways. If you're looking to be absolved by the audience, you're probably looking for the wrong things instead of actually just doing what you did, which was like learning who you are in a therapy format, a team of professionals. And that's why I still am so fascinated what her team of professionals thinks about all of this. Cause at a certain point, like we're going to end this season in a couple of weeks. And where do we all go? Like, is it's going to turn into like my thought, I said this many times, is Rachel going to start doing a rewatch podcast? Like, where's it going to go from there? I think a lot of these people, including the cast, are going to have not a come to Jesus moment, but a moment where you have to readjust to not all the spotlight being on you for the first time in a year and a half. That's going to be wild for them to deal with. Schwartz is like, well, it's also spinning a narrative that you masterminded this, Tom. And she was like a victim. And that's absolute malarkey. Uh-oh. Schwartz said malarkey. It's getting serious. Sandoval's like, we both did this. We both did this. We both chose this. We're both responsible. And Schwartz is like, absolute rubbish. And Lisa's like, wasn't there a line in the press that you were victim shaming her? And Sandoval's like, well, she used the word groomed. And Annie's like, she said that Tom groomed her. And Sandoval's like, which is beyond fucking slander, considering that she is not underage. That implies pedophilia. And so Lala's like, no, it doesn't. Yes, it does. And Lala's like, no, it doesn't. Yes, it does. And what, Lala goes, no, it doesn't. It's taking someone who is younger than you and more impressionable than you and someone who's at a higher level of power than the other person. And Sam was like, well, guess what? I was very impressionable when she took all her clothes off and jumped in my fucking pool, dude. I could just hear like property values going down in Valley Village when Sandoval said that. Like everybody in Valley Village, oh, grow. We got a place to show you in Valley Village. No, isn't there that where Rachel took all her fucking clothes off and jumped in Sandoval's pool? I do love the reframing of it, of like, it's like all of a sudden The Graduate of like, are you trying to seduce me? Like, listen, it takes two to tango, of course. But I love how Sandoval has reframed aspects of this of like, dude, she was wearing a really short skirt, dude. You don't do that around a hot-blooded male, dude, unless you're trying to give the impression, dude. Like, it is so redonkulous. And it is so funny that he is still saying such idiotic things. Like, even if he truly believes this, the fact that he is still not apt to even hear the even if you don't agree with the criticism, hear it enough to don't say stupid shit like this, especially when now there are legal cases involved. You're like, dude, help us help you, you dummy. And it's just it's sad in so many ways because you try to picture this situation, and other people have been in not this exact situation, but in these situations. And it brings up this larger conversation is at what point do we hold people accountable for their choices, right? Brock talks about it later in the episode of, actions have consequences, and talking about his kids from his previous relationship. But in this is that, where is Rachel to blame in any of this? Right. And I mean, I have a very clear perception of this in my head is that I don't think Sandoval ever, I think he thinks the grooming thing is ridiculous because I don't think he obviously thinks of it as grooming. So of course he's going to think that's ridiculous because he's not going to stand still long enough to actually believe that he ever did something wrong here. He is just not going to be he's not going to be able to accept that ever about himself. But if you look on the outside, there is a grooming element to it. But I think what it was he pumped her up, blew smoke up her ass so hard of, I understand you better than anybody. You don't understand, dude. You're a diamond, dude. They just don't all see it. You're a diamond. And I think Rachel fell in love with somebody that blew so much smoke up to her ass that it made her finally start realizing, like, oh, maybe I'm not the person that everybody says, or maybe I am special. Maybe I'm not just somebody else's girlfriend. Maybe I do have value, because he was saying all of these things, the right things to her, right? That it made her feel a certain way. And then I think it probably got to a point where it felt so real to her, to the point where she did start pursuing it as much as Sandoval was pursuing it. I'm sure there's an element of this where Sandoval probably would have loved to have kept this secret. And at first it would have just been hot sex. And then I think there's this probably element where Rachel got so invested too that it was like, oh, maybe this is something more. And that's also another reason why I think even in the relationship with Ariana is that at the end of the day, they were always together, even if Rachel wants to say differently now. But Ariana is right. I think Rachel truly didn't like Ariana, but actually wanted to keep an eye on her because she was in love, or thought she was in love with Tom Sandoval. So yeah, I'm going to be around her as much as fucking possible because I want to be with this man. So I am going to make sure I'm in control of this. I'm going to make sure I'm around this, even if it pains me to do so. I'm going to keep tabs. So Ariana's sitting here thinking, this is one of my really good friends. I support her. I believe in her, not realizing all of this. That's what makes it so dark, is because Rachel was there just to fucking keep tabs on her pseudo boyfriend at the time and his 9-year relationship with Ariana. And Ariana's sitting there thinking this is a real fucking friendship. And I don't know if Rachel's truly been honest about that at this point yet. So Lisa rolls her eyes. Ariana covers her face. Schwartz covers his too. And he's like, well, let me ask you this. Do you think she was groomed? And Lala goes, well, I mean, clearly you guys saw me on the boat. We flash back to that boat scene in Tahoe where Lala's like, I'm sorry if I don't fall in line with Sandoval. I'll have nobody. You isolate, you groom, you lie, you look people in their face. Bullshit, dude, bullshit. You don't know me, dude. Don't sit there and accuse me of grooming. And Lala's like, I don't know you. I think I know you real well. You don't fucking know me, dude. Lala on the reunion says, I feel like in that moment, I will admit I have been a projector. I still tend to project and I have to catch myself. Only Raquel and Tom know what the fuck was going on. And he must see it differently than she does. I tend to lean toward the chick a little bit more. My biggest problem was that what she said about Ariana, we've all watched. Ariana was one of her best friends, rallied the fuck out of this girl. This is where I think Lala sees this, like I said, I can agree with Lala when she's right. I think she nails a lot of this. And I also think she nails towards, of course, we're going to lean towards the chick a little bit more, even if it is somebody like Rachel. Doesn't take, like, Rachel did play a huge part in this. Like, I don't believe she was just like brainwashed completely, but I do side, if there is a side to taking this misery, with Rachel a little bit more, way more than I do with Tom. Lala's like, I don't know when the female who's been affected by the man suddenly is targeting the woman who really had her back in this whole situation. So whatever she wants to go out and say about Tom, it is what it is. It's true. Like, whatever she wants to say about Tom, that's her story to tell. But when it gets into the Ariana, and that's why the lawsuit is so ridiculous, like, what are you doing? You're almost weakening your case in some ways by going after the person that you guys both did this to. It's weird. Katie's like, yeah, she's not taking a whole lot of responsibility. And Schwartz is like, this is the issue. We witnessed it. She was just as conniving, if not more so, ruthless in her pursuit of pleasure. She's not a victim in this. Schwartz, she was ruthless in her pursuit of pleasure. She needed to get that big O, dude. she wanted to get that lightning bolt orgasm, dude. She was relentless, ruthless in her pursuit of pleasure. Like, I want Schwartz to write dime store romance novels. That's great. And Sam was like, yeah, dude, she pursued this, as did I, as I did. And Anna's like, what you're saying is you were equal partners in it. And Sam was like, yes, dude. So we talk about the revenge porn lawsuit. What's the status of the lawsuit? Now Scheana pipes up and goes, they can't answer it. It's ridiculous. Ariana didn't send that video to anyone. She was not distributing it. It's so ridiculous that she's being put through this fucking shit again, as if Raquel didn't put her through enough last year. It is funny how certain people call her Rachel and certain people call her Raquel. Also, I find it interesting that Scheana does, Ariana can't speak. So Scheana takes the fucking ball and speaks up for her friend in this moment. But also remember, Ariana did the same for her last season at the reunion when Scheana did not allegedly punch Rachel, right? So we're standing up for each other. I guess I'm still curious. And I think somebody sent me something that in Rachel's podcast where she kind of admits that Ariana didn't do that. It seems so very confusing. So I'm so curious where we go from here. And I would hope Tom would settle, but I would hope Ariana would take this. I mean, it's unfortunate that she would have to spend money to do this, but if she didn't distribute it, I want some kind of retraction from Rachel in this aspect of this lawsuit. Ariana's like, I don't understand. I've never done anything to her. Like, why am I constantly being brought back into this? And Sam's like, it's one thing for her to come after me, but to come after Ariana, I'm just like, I'm questioning if she has a fucking soul. It's like insane. Sandoval not realizing that he's done something horrible to Ariana, which would make us question if he has a soul. So it's one of those the show's so funny. And then he's like, James, what do you think? I'm exhausted, Andy, just talking about it. Like, I'm over it. And and then he's like, well, you brought her into this group. Oh, sorry, everyone. Sorry, Tom. Sorry. And they all kind of laugh. And then he's like, well, I think this is a good place to take a break. Hey guys, do you ever think about DJ James Kennedy is so precise. Even when he was talking about like Ariana and Tom being messes and how he keeps his place clean and he always looks so presentable. Like I was thinking, do you guys, I don't know this is sick, but do you guys ever picture DJ James Kennedy having sex? Like it must just be like two Barbies humping each other. It just seems like there's probably never sweat. It's just like two really clean individuals just bumping plastic body parts against each other. You know what I'm saying? It just seems like nothing's ever out of place. Like the only time DJ James Kennedy has ever been a mess is when he drinks. Everything else is like everything goes in its right place. It is very clean. Everything is clean, including sex with me. Yes, we just have Barbie private parts bumping each other. So we come back, and this is a trigger warning because we do talk about suicidal thoughts, and we talk about Sandoval telling Lisa in the aftermath of the revelation that he was having suicidal thoughts. We flash back to that scene, and he says, "Tell me how you're doing now." It's a year later. I have my ups and downs, dude. Anything I say or do, it's like very heavily scrutinized. He's completely right. It is, but that wouldn't it get you to like stop saying and like chilling out on saying things? Instead, he put the pedal to the metal and said more than he's ever said in the 11 years of being on this show. That's why it doesn't make sense. It's like, yes, he's right. But what happens? Like, then you kind of like take it down a notch, right? He's like, I'm not perfect, dude. And I'm not, this is when it's for Santa. He goes, I'm not the smartest dude, but yeah, it can be very difficult at times. I'm not the smartest dude.
Not a smart man.
I'm not a smart man, but I do know what humping Rachel was like. And he's like, Scheana and Lala, how did hearing about Tom's suicidal thoughts change the way you were processing what was going on in the group? And Lala goes, listen, I was angry at him, but I don't want to have that on me. And Scheana agrees and says, hey, I lost someone to suicide before. And she says the last conversation she had with that person, she wasn't supportive. And it was kind of like, look at where your choices have put you, not knowing that they were in a dark place. And she says that weighed on her for years and years, which I just like, oh my God. And I do think it's a really interesting insight because it felt like Lisa was the one that presented them with this idea. And I wonder how much production did as well, because this seemed to be the real turning point from where Scheana and Lala were like heavy Ariana. And then all of a sudden this conversation happened with Lisa early in the season. And then it switched. And it felt like, I do believe that these thoughts were probably real, because how do you not think about like, I just want to escape all of this if we're going to be really honest? Like, and let's be really honest. I mean, have you guys thought about, I mean, I have in the past, Like sometimes just things get to be too much. And I mean, let's be honest about that. I do believe that he had some sort of dark thoughts because how would you not? Um, but I also wonder how much this was used in you being a fulcrum to have people lighten up on Tom, and how much of it was out of true, genuine concern, or was it both? Where multiple things can be true at once, as we always say. And he says, Ariana, when you heard about the state of Tom's mental health, you seemed kind of stealth. What was going through your head? And Ariana is like, well, once again, reminding us, I was not someone who was coming after him. So what he was going through was not something that I was creating. But at the same time, I do remember very quickly after our last reunion, him weaponizing as I've talked about it on the show, suicidal ideation as something that I've dealt with. Anxiety and depression are things I deal with on a daily basis, and I didn't want to be a part of those conversations. So Ariana, listen, going, hey man, okay, well, welcome to the club. I've dealt with it my entire life. I've said this many times. I'm a big proponent of mental health. I think it's a very real thing. I have to do a lot of things to get up in the morning, and sometimes those don't even work. And this is a very real thing. And something that I really appreciated about Ariana was talking about these things. I remember being furious Jax's last season when he was weaponizing it against Ariana, that and her sexuality, and almost making fun of it. And then Jax used it as his excuse of like, something's wrong. My brain is bruised. And it's always when it seems like sometimes for the men, it's like the last thing that they go to of like, don't be too mad. I've got mental health problems when it's really hard. But Ariana reminded us of I deal with this stuff on a daily, monthly, yearly basis, but I didn't want to be a part of this conversation, nor should she have to be. And Sandoval is like, I'm curious as to how I weaponized your suicidal thoughts. And Scheana's like, you talked about it publicly, Tom. We had this conversation. And we flash back to 1 year earlier at Sandoval. And we also should have flashed back to the final episode of this season where Scheana, or maybe it was like the second to last episode, where Scheana talked to Tom and said, can you consider apologizing to Ariana for weaponizing her mental health? And he's like, yeah, I'll think about it, dude. Like, what are you talking about? You know why, Sandoval? It's like, do you not fucking listen to the things that are like told? Like, that it's very frustrating. I mean, this should have been like, I'm very sorry, instead of I'm curious as to how I weaponize your suicide. You told a fucking story that was a personal story. You told it for the world when it wasn't for the world. And the reality of what you told might not have even been the reality of that situation because it was coming for you, a known liar at that point. A flashback to 1 year earlier with Sandoval going, how do I end the relationship? This is not. And Scheana's like, you be a fucking adult and you have a conversation with her. I tried to. And you say she threatened to fucking kill herself. Then you say, I'm leaving. I'm not happy. And then we pick up the pieces that you fucking left. That really, by the way, Scheana deserved an Emmy for that scene. So fucking good. So we watched that clip and Sandoval's like I brought it up because I felt that it was used against me in a very textbook manipulation tactic. And I hate to say that, but like when you're in a relationship that's not going well and then you're like talking about how you want out, and Lisa's like, oh, hold on a second. It's very like, please let me shut you up before you say something idiotic. It's very different, Tom. It's very different because that was an intimate conversation between the two of them. When you told me about your feelings and suicide ideation, you were putting it out there yourself of your own volition. It wasn't Ariana's position. It was an intimate conversation you were exposing of her. See, this is what I'm talking about. It's like, fucking idiot. Like, I truly don't believe he does go to therapy, because how the fuck is Lisa Vanderpump explaining this to you? You chose to put this on camera. This wasn't a surprise scene. You chose to put this on camera. She did not. There is a huge difference. And the fact that, you can't see it a year later is such a bummer. Lala interrupts because, of course, well, there's two things happening here. I think Lala should just get off the show and just be a producer. Like, she seems to see things very clearly. Maybe, like, I said this, I think, a couple months ago. Lala, I would love to see produce her own reality show. I don't mean a reality show she's on. I would love to see her produce a reality show, because she does seem like she has a clear vision. Whether that matches up with what I want from this show or not is really of no importance. But I think she has such a clear vision that I would love to see what she would do with her own reality show. Like, I think, and I know there was this Demois blind with her saying that she might have been promised a show about her pregnancy journey and her birth, but that it was not going forward because her Q rating wasn't high enough. Q rating is this thing where they test out like certain people in media, like who has a good Q score. Like I think The Rock used to have a very big Q score. Like people really liked The Rock, and some people have lower Q scores, and it would mean that a lot of people find Lala unlikable. It's a blind, so who knows if that's fucking true or not. I mean, I will say Bravo has had a lot of spin-off shows. I mean, we even did a Karen Huger like 3-episode spinoff of the Grand Dame of Potomac. Like we've had spinoff shows, so it's something that I could believe, but they're saying that it's not going to happen because not enough people genuinely like Lala. I don't know if that is true or not. It was just a blind, I think Dumois released this week, but it would also kind of add a little more fuel to the fire of of Lala really helping the producers and all that, hoping that she was going to get a spinoff of her own, because now her pregnancy journey will only be told potentially on her podcast, right? And not on the show, because if they were initially going to pick up filming in the summer, that's not going to happen anymore. So by the time cameras do roll again, she is going to potentially be in the first months of a new baby. Like that's going to be wild for her. And I really would be curious for her to talk about the reality of that. And I don't, and I would like more of the softer side of Lala to talk about that. And that to me would be very real, of like the fact that I was hoping that we would have all of this leading up to this, then I'd be able to finish filming and start raising my child. But like, I wonder the reality of that. And if we're going to go meta, I really want to know the reality. Like, is there a part of her that is scared? Is there a part of her, like how she really views all of this and her future on this show? And also Scheana and Lala, obviously very close. And Scheana talks about this even on her podcast of like this, of like, listen, we have kids, we're raising this family. And it is weird because it's this thing of like, well, that doesn't make you any better or worse than anybody else just because you have kids. You just have different responsibilities. And that's why reality shows, it is not something I've always said. Reality shows aren't a fucking like gig at the post office. You put your 50 years in and you get a gold watch at the end. Like reality shows aren't meant to be long-term careers. In fact, it's wild that a show like this has gone 11 seasons. That's unheard of. That just doesn't happen. We're in like new territory. We are in the Wild West. Who knows? But like you can't hang your hat on these shows. It is just not smart to do. You can't depend on this. And the more that I would imagine you try for it, the less exciting you become to watch, because we want people to show their reality, not somebody that's just desperate to keep something going. And especially if you're not a Kardashian, which by the way, can you believe the Kardashians, their new season comes back this week? Are you guys going to watch? It's interesting, right? It feels relatively quiet. Anyways, I was like, well, there's two things happening. She confided in you. You put it on camera. Bottom line is, you know what it feels like. And sounds like, because I didn't believe, like Sandoval's literally like, I thought you were the fucking liar trying to keep me there by threat. Like, it's so fucking narcissistic to believe somebody that would make up actual mental health issues their entire life and then throw suicide in there just to keep your sorry ass. Like, come on, man. And by the way, I get it. Women aren't perfect. Men are definitely not perfect. But I get that we all share some responsibility and none of us are perfect. But to think that it's just you're going to have to do better than this. It's just sad. Anyways, there were 4 other things said that it just didn't end up happening. So Xana was like, there were 4 other things that I didn't even say. And Lala was like, it doesn't matter. You got to stop fixating on things that are different with everybody else so it doesn't apply to you. And Lala does make a lot of sense in this, but that's why it's like unfortunate. Lala, like when she makes sense and then she'll wildly not make sense in her own actions. And then that makes her less of a reliable narrator. So when she talks like this, you're like, well, shit, it makes sense. But like, I don't believe you have to, I don't know. It's weird. Scheana's like, and also you're saying you wanted to call bullshit if you would have broken up with her, if she wanted to leave the show, move to New York, that's on her. If that's what she needed for her mental health. So if you wanted to call bullshit, you should have walked out the fucking door. And Ariana nods her head. Like, that's true. If you want somebody, it's like it's a little bit and a very much higher consequences this season, this week's episode of Summer House, when Paige is like, you think Amanda's too lazy and don't think she's doing enough work, and now she wants to leave, and you want to keep her. Why would you want to keep somebody that you think is like the laziest and not helping the company? Well, wouldn't you want that person to go and you can hire somebody else? Why would you want to keep them there then? Like, what they're saying is, yes, it's hard, but you got to walk out the door. You got to look out for yourself. And since you didn't, you created this whole other reality for yourself that you got you into way more a lot more insanity than it needed to be. But it's one of those things looking to blame everybody else and trying to blame these things on Ariana's mental health instead of your own actual fuck up. And if Sandoval at any point would just be like, yeah, dude, I don't fucking know, man. I fucked this up. So, like, I just keep saying, like, I fucked this up all so badly. I'd fucked up so badly. And I wish had been braver. I wish I had been this. I wish I had been that. It is useless now. I fucking hate all of this. I hate to like look bad to people. I don't like that. I just like, I mean, if he could just fucking, because that's what it feels like at the end of the day, but he won't fucking say it. Just say, like, I'm even astonished by myself, man. This isn't me. This isn't me. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. But he doesn't. He keeps pounding away. And he wants these circumstances to be so much different than they are. Like, he wants, like, oh man, it would just be awesome if Ariana truly was evil. Like, it would be awesome. It would make things so much better for me. That was an extended scene, or we're about to get to an extended scene. And Andy's like, Lisa, you told Sandoval the only way he was going to be able to repair his relationship with his friends was with utter sensitivity and contrition. Do you ultimately feel you saw that from him? I did see remorse. I did see contrition. But then he'll counteract that with something else, as Lala just saying, but in an apology, there are no buts. And Sandoval's like, I don't think I'm sorry, but you did not just hear that. And she's like, yeah, I know, but you started your sentence with but. And Lisa's like, apology is, I'm sorry, Tom. It ends there, not. And then he's like, well, maybe one of the challenging things is that there have been a lot of lies and betrayal in this group in the past. And I don't actually know what Andy's talking about right here. And I think that maybe in your mind, you wanted to point out and say, well, you did this. Do you think you got in your own way at all? Yeah. Do you think, Tom? And Sam was like, my reference toward that was in when things would happen with people in the past, I was never so attacking. And then we do a flashback to all of the times, like Sandoval punching Jax, Sandoval in the woman's makeup in New Orleans. Don't put your fucking finger in my face. I've got my fucking finger in my face all fucking night. And Sandoval yelling at Kristen. And Sandoval yelling at Jax, Sandoval screaming in public at Katie, and then Sandoval most recently this season screaming at Lala, screaming at James at the house party. So he, Tom is also one of those distortion of belief people where we have all of this on camera. He knows that, yet he will continue to say, I've never been so attacking, when he knows that the editors will be able to pull out 30 trolls immediately. Like, I just don't understand if you accept that this show is your savior, then why not like actually watch the fucking show and realize the behavior that we've seen up to this point. It's just like, God, you would be the worst lawyer in your own, like, if you are comparing yourself to Scott Peterson or OJ Simpson, you'd be the worst lawyer for yourself ever. Like, I would be like, please, Sandoval, do not take the stand. You are fucking horrible. You are truly horrible at defending yourself in any sort of way. You confuse it so much and you end up looking guiltier than you probably even are at times. It's wild. But yeah, it's like Sandoval it is, yes, I'm sorry, but it's like, yes, I'm showing contrition, and then we'll turn around and be just as angry, if not angrier than the people that are angry at him. Really weird behavior. Sandoval's like, do you know what I mean? And Lala is like, do you think that's how you come across? And Katie's like, and you preach about your accountability? Oh my God. And Lala goes, you don't get to sit here and be like, they attack me, by the way, but I came forward. It's like, you've got a skewed perception of reality. And Sandoval's like, did I do one podcast about you and Randall's breakup? Well, first off, you didn't have a podcast at the time, Sandoval, but yeah, I mean, I get your point. You didn't, but this is it's just a different situation. And Lala goes, I wish you would have. I needed some fucking backup, Tom. And Sandoval's like, I didn't speak about anything about his breakup, any breakup. And Lala goes, please make note, if I deal with another person like that, start your fucking engine, Tom. And Sandoval's like, I wouldn't do that. And Lala goes, because I would love some backup. That's an extended scene. And then he's like, well, Sandoval, as you try to move forward from the affair, it seems like you take 2 steps forward and 10 steps back. And you really stepped in it when you compared yourself to George Floyd and O.J. Simpson. And they showed that New York Times article, which, by the way, go back. We did a whole hour plus on just the New York Times article. In fact, they talk about who read and who didn't read the article in this segment. And I read the whole thing. And it wasn't just these fucking comparisons to George Floyd and O.J. Simpson that were ridiculous. The whole fucking article was ridiculous. So he's like, I think he's trying to paint this as like, this is one thing. No, the whole fucking article, I still refer to it every week on this show, was a fucking train wreck from top to bottom. This, of course, was the soundbite because it was the most egregious, but by no means was it the most horrifying to me personally. James too whispers to Lala during this is like, can you be any dumber? And then he's like, so talk to the people out there or talk to the people in the room about why they should believe that you have grown and changed. And Sandoval rubs his nose like, all right, like, do I do a sales pitch for myself? And he's kind of being attitudey, but it's like, no, don't do a sales pitch for yourself because you couldn't even do like, remember when him and Schwartz auditioned to be like liquor sales reps for Lisa and they could barely even do it? No. Don't do a sales pitch on yourself. In fact, maybe actually, Andy, I have him do a sales pitch. Let's see what it would be at this moment. Andy goes, what do you think of the response? And James like, don't make it worse by what you say. So think about it for a second, Tom. And Sam's like, James, please. And Andy's like, listen, you clearly made a lot of inroads with a lot of people in this group. And it's fair to say that you've gotten an incredible amount of backlash to statements that you've made. You don't have to defend yourself. I wonder, I'm not defending, dude. I'm not. Well, tell me what you think of it. I'm not defending anything I said. I was just talking about the absurdity of this. And Andy's like, of the attention? The scandal. Yeah, I just thought of the big things in news. Those are the first big things. I like the first big things in news was Scott Peterson and OJ Simpson. OJ Simpson is like a 20 plus year kid. Those are the big things always in news, dude. Obviously, there's way bigger, like, you know, the parts, the movements, all these things. And Lala's like, did you feel like you were saying these are real things that happened that were newsworthy and this was capturing attention and this was not? Stop being the Sandoval whisperer, Lala. Like, let Sandoval try to explain himself and let Andy steer that ship. But this is what my problem with Lala all season is like, don't be the producer or don't like you. It's very frustrating because it's like, let Sandoval explain, let Andy help him out, but you are not the person to come in like you tried to do all season. It clouds things more than it helps things. But Sandoval's like, yes, exactly. I'm seeing the scandal sandwich in between like fucking war in Ukraine and like, you know, some other shit. I'm like, why is this stupid? Why are CNN talking about a cheating scandal on a guilty pleasure reality show? First off, do I believe that Tom Sandoval just turns around on CNN all the time and then he gets upset when there's entertainment news? Also, I want to step away a little bit from the fallacy that there is not entertainment news in the actual news. Every hour of news on CNN, MSNBC, I think even on Fox News, they will have entertainment stories. This was the biggest entertainment story of the time. And yes, it got a lot of attention based on what normal reality shows get. Of course, yes to all of this. But entertainment news is news. And you fucking better hope it will be because that's why you have a fucking job. That's the whole concept of this show is not feeling guilty about these things. These things are worthy. These things actually provide real conversation for people like what we're doing now. LOL, kind of. But you know what I'm saying? Like we've got to get away from this, like, how dare this? And do I think like Tom was truly upset because he was like really knee deep in a CNN hour long trying to get the news that he can't even remember now and then going, oh no, dude, it's me again. What the I'm looking to see how many tanks are in Ukraine right now, dude. Oh, dude. Schwartz, can you believe this shit? And Lala's like, well, I can get behind the fact that there was real news happening. And Santa was like, it was overtaking it. And Lala goes, I was thinking about it because everybody was talking about it. It was wild. But if you're saying this is how you meant it, and Santa was like, yes. And Lala's like, yes, it's a joke compared to what happens in the world. Ariana kind of raises her eyebrows at Lala mentions of a joke. That's what I'm saying. Like, this was very real to these people, and it was very real to us, the viewers. So why isn't that real? Why isn't it because we're not supposed to make, you know, usually people cheating on each other is not national news. But when you put the element of this is a television show that is a lot of people are watching, it does become news. That's it. There are entertainment news stories every day on Real News. And Brock's like, it was clickbait. And that's the problem because I'm not paying that subscription to the New York Times. I'm reading that right there. And that's what everybody read. And so Brock's saying he only read the clickbait. And I'm like, I read the whole fucking thing. It was a mess. Santa was like, nobody actually read the fucking article. Did you read the article? And Brock's like, no, exactly. Nobody read it. And he's like, I did. And Lala's like, no, I only saw a headline. See, this is like, Lala, why are you fucking like, you didn't even read it? You just read the headline? I'm so confused. And Lisa's like, it's a ridiculous comparison. And Sam was like, it was a bad article. And Andy shakes his head. You should fire your PR team. It wasn't a bad article. You made it a bad article because you were real and your real persona right now is really shitty. It was a fascinating article. It was a horrifying article. I thought a great article, but it was a horror story. Katie speaks up and goes, there's a concept called intent versus impact. And it doesn't matter how you meant it. The problem is that it's the impact that it made. So this is why you just need to think before you speak, dude. And Lala's like, for the sake of the fucking show, can you stop talking to people? And Sam's like, yes. But this is another example of like, Lala, you're at it again. Like, wait, shouldn't he be doing this ridiculous stuff? Because it actually provides the reality of this. Like, this guy can't shut up. he's putting the pedal to the metal when he should be laying low. That's Tom Sandoval right there. That's his real persona. So we do want to air that out. And why, for the sake of the fucking show, stop talking to people? Why? Does it hurt the show? Doesn't it just hurt Tom Sandoval? I would be so much, but why are you the person of like, for the sake of the fucking show, can you stop talking to people? So if Tom talks to more people, it hurts the show. I will say, I do know for a fact that Sandoval, he arranged these interviews like he did without Bravo's consent. And that's what fucked him. Like all of it, like it fucked him. He went rogue. Rachel didn't go rogue. Tom went rogue. He did this series of interviews, Nick Viall, the New York Times, and he just fucking wrecked it every time. And he didn't go through Bravo until it was too late. He thought he could like re-app it himself. And it was, so I think that's what she's meaning, but it comes off like, are you the boss here? Andy asked Lala if she's having a boy or a girl. She's having a girl. The baby donor was selected at that party. We get a flashback to that. We do find out the baby donor is Ken. I can't believe he asked for semen for Lala's baby. I can't believe that.
I can't believe
I'm
Tom
Lala.
Sandoval had
Yeah.
however, when Ariana was away.
What if they call the baby Jacuzzi or something? Anyways, they talk about the baby's name. Is it going to be a body of water because of ocean? And they kind of joke about river or stream. It sounds like, what about Drive, dude? Like Ocean Drive. And Lala's like, I like it. Okay. I guess Ocean's excited about having a baby sister. She said her custody agreement is not coming to, like, the fighting about it's not coming to an end anytime soon. She's made a lot of peace with this. She starts to tear up. And Lisa's like, why are you so emotional right now, Lala? Is it because of being pregnant? Or, she's like, it's because I only get so much camera time because of Sandoval. No. Lala goes, well, probably, but also just talking about Ocean. And, I feel like I'm giving her what I wanted her to have, which is just the consistency and like a sibling that's close in age and somebody that she's going to feel, the other two kids are much older. Randall's other two kids, they get to go to their moms together. They get to come back to their dad. So I just don't ever want to. And by the way, this is what I'm saying. Like, this is what I said at the very beginning. Like, I champion this part because this is very real. I would love to see more of Lala's custody fight at part of this because that's very dramatic with the Randall of it all. But I also understand what she's saying, and I think all of this makes sense. I don't think it makes for a great show, but it makes so much sense, and I champion Lala in these moments. Yeah, and he goes, you're talking about Randall's other kids. Does Ocean have a relationship with them? And Lala's like, yes, but Randall's not around very often, and Amber and I really make sure, and that's his first wife. They do a really great job of getting the girls together because ultimately I don't know what's going to happen with my ex. This is an extended scene. And he's like, what does he want in terms of custody? And Lala's like, I don't fucking know. And it's just a fucking nightmare, but it's my reality. And it just plays into why I wanted to do it this way. It reads a lot with Randall where it seems like, and a lot of businessmen will do this. Well, they'll just keep fucking somebody in court just to fucking fuck with them for the rest of their lives. And it's wild because Randall has so many other huge concerns, but it seems like, I don't know, he would not be a person that I would want to have any sort of tie to in any way. It just seems like he could make your life hell. And if he's going down, he would drag you down with him. That's just my perception, reading and, Andy goes, Lisa, there's been so much public support for Lala as a single mom. You've proven that there are many ways to have kids. You've adopted yourself, and talks about when she got married to Ken had a son who was 15. She has an adopted child and a biological child. She honestly says that they're loved equally. It would be great if Lisa was like, and honestly, I can tell you, I don't like my adopted son. He's still a busser over it, sir. I do not like it. No, she says, I love them equally. She wishes the best for Lala. And she's like, I never want her to be bitter as a woman and realize that she will meet somebody again and somebody who's going to love her. She doesn't seem bitter. I don't know. Lala does seem bitter about certain situations, but it reads like she's bitter more about the Ariana situation than she is about Randall. And she has every right to be bitter about the Randall situation. She talks about dating, and she's like, there's a lot of men who, even though she's pregnant, would like to get with her. She's like, the men are now knocking because they know they can't get you pregnant. And Lala's like, my boobs aren't going to be like these when I'm not pregnant. So I'm like, somebody better come enjoy them. And I get really horny when I'm pregnant. So I'm going to overshare here today. Sandoval and Schwartz is like, hell yeah, dude. Let's double team Lala, man. Yeah, dude. And Lala's like, no man or woman is safe. Do you think Lala is getting down? I don't know. Like I've always said, it's kind of like a little bit of Erica Jane vibes with Lala with me, where she doesn't get down that often. She's not that crazy, but when she does, she wants to prove how damn crazy she is. So that's where like she'll be doing like flips and backbends and like just wild shit just to prove how wild she is. Like, didn't that with DJ James Kennedy where she was doing like backflips or something? What was that conversation or that scene? Anyways, Andy's like, okay, let's switch gears. I want to talk Summer Moon. Scheana and Brock's daughter, she's going to be 3. They talk about the nanny situation. Gabby, we met this season. She's still there a little bit. Sheena's mom has her a couple of days. Andy asks, how is your postpartum OCD? Which, by the way, we missed a golden opportunity to bring Summer Moon out, and Sandoval could apologize for blocking Summer Moon, finally. Scheana goes, well, I hadn't heard of postpartum OCD either, but many women are told they have postpartum depression when it's actually postpartum OCD. There are similar symptoms, but more intrusive thoughts, more of me seeing a worst case scenario play out in my mind. We get a flashback to Scheana and Brock's anniversary dinner this season. And this was the scene that they showed in the trailer, but they didn't show in the actual show, which was so weird. But this is Scheana says, I don't know if it's an intrusive thought or more of a fear. I don't think you and I are going to be together forever. They had that line in the trailer, which we were like, what? But then it continues. She says, because I feel like one of us is just going to die, which is like, holy shit. And Brock's like, yeah, it's scary, but it's also living. This is why I want to enjoy every minute I have with my kid. And Sheena's like, I do. And he's like, yeah. And Sheena's like, and that joy makes me sad. To me, I don't know why that scene got cut out. I think that makes so much sense to me. And it just shows how Sheena's mind works. You know, like all joking aside about Scheana, her mind does seem to work at 120 miles an hour, and it can be really dangerous and destructive for her because even when she thinks about the joy of being with somebody, she realizes that one day one of them's going to die sooner than the other. It's a very real fucking thought. Try to tell somebody to not be afraid of that because you know it's going to be true. You know, like it's a very real thought. It might be ridiculous in some ways because it might be so far off, but it's still there. Those are real. That's fucking mental health, you guys. That's it right there. Might not make sense to you, but it's real. And he's like, you also talked about the idea that somewhere in the back of your mind that you have a fear that Brock and Lala could get together. Is that brought on by your OCD or is that brought on by what happened with Tom and Rachel? And Sheena's like, well, I think that's what triggered it. Well, if Sandoval could do this, could he do this? And pointing to Brock. And then he's like, is there something specific about Brock's relationship with Lala that makes you think that? And Scheana talks about living in the comment section and, you know, and seeing these things on top of what Tom and Raquel did. And it just magnified it. And Lala goes, well, what I can do is promise her that it would never happen. Of course, I look at him in a certain way. He stepped up to the plate when like there were no men around to kind of help me navigate. And he's like, wow. And Lala goes, it is like we're a throuple. Let Lala maybe stop talking right now. Like, it is weird because I do remember the days when Lala was really giving Brock shit, but it also shows that like, man, Brock, you know, I might not have loved every scene Brock was in this season. And it was really wild because he was kind of verging on that producer pet, but also trying to prove why he was there, I think, to production and to the audience in certain ways. He does look like he is this amazing father to Summer Moon. And yes, you do have to take into account his previous family where he was not. And he has admitted that. But I also do want to believe that people can learn from things and that you do get second chances in life. And it doesn't take away the pain, obviously, that his kids go through. And I hope that he, you know, I was wondering when they talk about this, I was like, I wonder if he writes them cards every day because he, you know, they talk about it and he says, you know, the mom would be okay with it, but it's really up to the kids and the kids don't really want to have to see him right now because they actually went back to Australia and he didn't get to see them. And I do wonder if like he's accepted that, which is amazing, like to let the kids decide when, but is there an element of that where he's still like writing them cards every day of like he's caught up on child support payments, but is he, you know, that's the point. And I'm not saying like, oh, I want to see what he's doing, but I would be curious because he does seem to genuinely want that. I wonder, and maybe they've talked about this on Shenanigans, what he does do. Cause he seems like that kind of guy at this point to do that, to like be writing cards every day of like, I'm here when you need me. Like, I mean, I'm watching him put together this new house or just like the lawn work. And I get fascinated watching his Instagrams because he's putting so much work in there and you see Summer Moon out there helping him. And it's just like, man, this is like a real, you know, he's like really putting in this work and he's, I don't know, like it's hard. Like we all fuck up, right? And he's fucked up royally, but now he's on hopefully the other side of this. Anyways, back to the Lala of it all. You know, Lala and Katie even gives him compliments in this scene. But Lala, maybe like don't say things like we're a throuple. Like, no, you're not any of that. And also in this group, you just can't promise. I just don't think anybody can make any hard promises about anything. This show is so crazy. You just never know. Like I would bet dollars to donuts, never would happen. I don't think so, but I didn't think Rachel and Tom either. So anyways, Lala's like, hey, Scheana has to do the heavy lifting and pantomimes a blowjob. And I love Brock's like, I wish Scheana doesn't like to give blowies. Nah. And so they're up to date on child support payments. Talks about the kids. They're all figuring it out. It's been tough. Lala goes, I think you're handling it really, really well. You're showing a tremendous amount of respect and you're a great dad to Summer Moon. Ariana is even tearing up listening to all of this. In an extended scene, Andy's like, do you think Summer Moon will ever meet her siblings? And he's like, I hope so. And she's like, I hope so. I want that. And it'll come, Andy. I'll keep doing everything I think in our future. We're going to spend some more time down there in Australia. And hopefully they can open up their conversation more. I can show Summer Moon where her dad was a pig farmer. Ariana's wiping away tears, like really emotional about this whole thing. But here's somebody I will say that seems to be working hard to try to make things right. Can we at least give him that? Is that okay? Scheana's like, I feel like there's also some guilt there because he wasn't always there for the other kids. And so that's been tough too, because he's so fucking incredible as a dad. I do wonder how much the kids are aware of this show. And if they do watch and if they get even jealous or upset, like those are just thoughts I wonder about. But Brock even says right here, actions have consequences, And Katie's like, Brock, I will say it's incredible watching with Summer and it makes me definitely eat my words. We get a flashback to 2021 when Katie is really questioning the why of everything. Okay, why? You can't pay child support, but why? You can't see, but why? But so even Katie is, and it just goes to show you, don't live. I was thinking about this, is that people are going to talk a shit. People are going to have opinions on your life. They're not going to know the reality of your life, but they're going to have opinions, right? You can't ever get away from that. All you can do is live your life and try to make it right for the people that you're dealing with, the people that have chosen to stay in your life and make that right, and then try to make up for mistakes that you've made. But you can't try to make the Katies of the world happy or try to make the Lalas of the world happy. You've got to try to pick yourself up and do what's right for the people that are directly involved. Because what I've realized is people are going to have opinions and they're not going to know everything, but they're going to have opinions and they're going to be really hard to hear, right? But you can't do anything about that, but you can try to focus on what you can control and then work from there. I don't know. That's what I took from that. I thought that, and it's good to learn little things like that. That's actually a big thing you learn from this show. Katie goes, I'm a harsh judge of character and it's mostly a protection thing for myself and for my friends, but you are an amazing father. And he's like, thank you, Kitty. That's amazing. I appreciate that. And Andy's like, and I appreciate that you've remained committed to your Speedos. And we get a bunch of shots of Brock and his budgie smugglers. He's like, me too, Andy. I'm not going to lie. I looked better back in the day, so I'm going to stick to it. But thank ya. I wonder if it would be great if Brock, he has his budgie smugglers and he doesn't shave down. So it's just like a huge bush. He's on both sides. So. Anyways, we're on to an Ariana segment, and Andy's like, well, Ariana, this year you bounced back from an earth-shattering breakup only to land on top of the world. You booked a ton of brand deals, you finished third on Dancing with the Stars, went to the White House Correspondents' Dinner, and released a New York Times best-selling cocktail book. I'm exhausted just saying all of this. Plus, there's a new leading man in your life. By the way, this really goes against Tom Sandoval continually calling her lazy. Fucking lazy, stupid, lazy person. That doesn't sound lazy to me. Also, a New York Times bestselling cocktail book. That's another thing. You think about Lala being so frustrated she didn't make the New York Times bestseller list for Give Them Lala, and Ariana got it for a cocktail book. I do hold true if Lala wrote a book 2 years from now, that would have a better chance of getting the New York Times bestselling list, just because Lala would be able to write about, I don't know if she'll ever legally be able to write about Randall. It was just Give Them Lala was when she was with Randall. I think she actually suffered something that is so interesting in certain ways that it is worth a book. But anyways, they start talking about Daniel Way, her new boyfriend. How's your relationship progressed in the last 12 months? They show us photos of Ariana and Dan, and Ariana's like, well, being in New York for Broadway, it's fun because they get to see each other, not across country. It's been really fun. And Lisa's like, and you're living with him there? And Ariana's like, no, he has his own apartment. And Sandoval raises his eyebrows. And then he's like, well, any movement on whether he should move to LA or you would move there? And she's like, oh, I don't know. His family's in New York, and with me and Katie being in business and my whole life being here, it's something that, it would be nice to be bi-coastal. And there's an extended scene. And Andy's like, Lala, you were questioning Dan's motive for dating someone just out of a 10-year relation. Lala, you were talking shit as usual. And we get a flashback of Lala to her mom talking about Ariana getting a new man. And she's like, what's his motive? This is weird. And her mom going, there's nothing wrong with you questioning this, that and the other right now. You're more aware. Your blinders are off. So of course you're going to think those things. And back in this scene, Andy's like, how do you feel about Dan now? And Lala goes, well, Dan has been nothing but lovely. Every time I've seen him, he acknowledges my kid through the DM, when I think is like very kind and means a lot to me. And Lisa's like, what does that mean? Acknowledges my kid through the DM. Canton stumbles on. It means it's direct messaging on Instagram. He'll leave a nice little comment. I can't believe that. Lala goes, well, I mean, like if I post something of Ocean, he's like, oh my gosh, this is so cute. And like, that means a lot to me. He doesn't know me. He doesn't have to acknowledge anything that I do. But there you see right there, it's just being a nice person. It's just being a human, trying to be a friend to somebody that Ariana considers a friend, right? And trying to not be dramatic and trying not to talk shit, trying to just be nice. And also, it is fun to see pictures of your friends' kids or people that you work with, or like, it's nice. It's a normal, nice thing to do. And he says, Ariana, I'm curious if you think getting into the relationship with Dan helped or hindered mourning the loss of the 10 years with Tom. And Ariana goes, I think it's going to be a very long time before I'm going to be able to fully process through all those things. And I don't want to put my life on hold for, someday that I may or may not consider myself fully healed, because I don't know when that will come. I think that's so genius. Like, that was another thing that was like, yes, exactly. Like, is that, sometimes as you get older, it's like, you have to sometimes you have 5 balls in the air at once, right? And you can only take so much time. Even grieving my mom, and I probably should have taken a little bit more time, but you do that on a daily basis, right? And you get through it, but you can't just sometimes stop everything as you get older. And you don't have your summers just to focus on one thing. And hopefully you come back at the beginning of the school year and you're a new person. Like, no, you do these things as you continue on with life, and you don't want to shut everything down, because like this, I've said this multiple times this year, is that Ariana, I would imagine, will be dealing with this for the next 5 years at least, right? You're going to be dealing with these. You're going to be dealing with intrusive thoughts. You're going to be dealing with paranoia. You're going to be dealing with trust issues. But does that mean that you should never trust again? Does that mean you should never be in a relationship again? No, obviously not. And that's why I think this is great. And you know what I will say? I love that I don't know Daniel. I love that I've never met him. I love, he seems like a nice guy, He seems like he doesn't want to be in TV. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. I like that. I like it. I don't, there's part of me that's like, I don't want to meet him. I'm glad. I hope she's happy. I hope she looks happier with him, but it doesn't take away anything that she's gone through. But it's like, cool, man. And I hope that he remains off the show. I really do. I think that'll, I think it'll give the best shot of this relationship, for its overall survival, if she's interested in that. But who knows? It's reality TV, so you never know where we're going to go from here. We don't even know if Ariana will come back. Katie's like, well, it's not a destination, it's a journey. And Ariana's like, yep, I'm still on it. And then he's like, James, last year you had started with Allie pretty soon after you and Rachel broke up. Why do you think your new relationship was more scrutinized than Ariana's? And James is like, well, because when that breakup happened, everyone chose her side instead of my side, right? And she was like the it girl, and me and Allie were like the people that were still around and like, hey, how are you? Which I'm fine with. I don't really give a shit. It is what it is. And look, I'm over that, But the question was like, why do you think Ariana had an easier time getting with Dan 10 days after I met Allie 2 months after the breakup? And Ariana interjects, I didn't get with him 10 days. Whatever it was. What was the exact number? Let's get 2 weeks, 3 weeks. And Ariana's like, months. Thank you. I think, means in the actual like hippity dippity, the hookup, And James is like, mine was months. Mine was 2 months. And Ariana's like, James, this isn't personal at all. I know it's not, but I'm just saying the fact of what it is, right? Well, I think James is more erratic, isn't he? Lisa says. And Schwartz is like, you also have to keep in consideration, like towards the end of a relationship, mentally, you're slowly trying to figure out a way to transition out of it. So maybe it's not that shocking when you do start dating someone. And James is like, dude, Tom was fucking Raquel at the time. None of you knew about it. And then here comes Allie, my new girlfriend. But no, it's her best friend. She was at your house 24/7. Sandoval, you were getting your wee-wee sucked downstairs. And Sandoval's like, okay, dude. And James, you fucking knew about it, but this is the facts, guys. That's why a clear line has been drawn. And Sam's like, but that's not the facts, dude. She wouldn't do blowies at the house. That's not the facts. And James like, so obviously it was harder for me to even like try to be friends with you guys at that point, right? But I got over it. I never doubted Allie. And I was like, I knew through time you're all going to love Allie. But Allie Dally, Allie Bally. But I'm over that. I'm over that. I still don't understand why Allie isn't out there. I feel like she played a big part, just like Brock. Why isn't Allie fucking out there yet? I just wondered if it was just like a paycheck thing. Like we would have to pay her more. Like I legitimately think that might be it. And he's like, okay, you don't seem entirely over it. You just got a little bit hot out about it. And Brock's like, from then till now, you have so much growth, James, that we've all seen. And so I'd like to apologize for making you feel like that. Dude, and obviously I was hurt from it. I was hurt from it. And then he's like, Brock just apologized to you, DJ James. Do you have a response to that? Dude, thank you. And Brock and I have grown miles. He texted me yesterday and he's been showing so much support. And he says, Sandoval, speaking of relationships, I've seen online that you have a new girlfriend. How is that going? They show a picture of Sandoval and Victoria. And Sandoval's like, oh, it's going great, dude. She doesn't watch the show. She has her own successful career. She has her own house. And he's like, she's a model? Yeah, dude, she's a very successful model. And then he's like, well, she used to date Leonardo DiCaprio, I read. Yeah, dude, it was a while ago. But, and Lisa to Andy's like, well, you're up to date. And Andy's like, I'm up to date. And James like, kind of freaky because he had in his washroom in his house, right? This custom wallpaper. And one of the wallpaper pictures is Leo DiCaprio leaving the chateau with like a model in hand. It's a tall brunette. And then he's like, that's crazy. It sounds like, that's funny, dude. And Lisa's like, why is he in his washroom? I just remember everything about that wallpaper. It's legendary. I mean, it's got a fucking Park La Brea on it. It's got a fucking state park. It's like, and Ariana's like, it's the mudroom off the garage. It's my house. I picked it. And Sandoval rolls his eyes. Now I will say, when I did that interview with Sandoval, 3 years ago now, when I went over to their house, after the interview, he did the full tour of the house. I think I have this on video. The wallpaper, you guys, is fucking magnificent. And he was talking about how long it took to get, and it was like so specifically designed between him and Ariana. And I think I have this video. I don't think, maybe I'll put it in the Patreon or something, but it really was mind blowing. Like it had every fucking I'd never seen this detailed of wallpaper. It was really cool. But anyways, yeah, that really exists. There was so much detail in their place. And let's see. Now we go to Schwartz. And he's like, Schwartz, you and Lala were a little flirty this year. And they flash back to a couple of scenes of them being very flirtatious. And he's like, how did this come about? And Lala's like, this is why I'm mean to people, because being kind comes across flirty because I'm just not ripping you a new one. Like, I can't even be nice. And Sandoval was like, you think that was flirty? And Lisa's like, Lala and Schwartz, that would be beautiful. And Schwartz is like, there was no flirting. And Andy to Katie is like, what do you think seeing Lala and Schwartz? And Katie's like, I don't know. I mean, did it seem flirty? A little bit, but mostly from his end. And Lala goes, first of all, I would never do that because she's the homie. Lala, I love Lala. She's the homie, dude. I ain't down with that. She's the home slice, yo. And then Lala goes, but I would eat this man alive. And Schwartz is like, yeah, I can't argue with that. She would devour me. And Lisa's like, wishful thinking, dear boy. And Schwartz is like, well, we can take a crack at it. And Lala's like, could be fun. And Anna's like, I'm thinking this is a good place to leave it. We will take a break. Oh my God. How is this already 2 hours? I fucking hate this show. So much to talk about. Okay. They come back from break and Andy is talking about the closing of Pump. And he's like, do you feel like you made the right decision, Lisa? And Lisa's like, well, for a restaurant to be in existence for 10 years, it's a successful restaurant, but we just felt it was time to call it. We couldn't make a profit there with the rent increase. And this is an extended scene that I wish they'd left in the actual show, because Andy's like, well, there were quotes from your former landlord online saying he hadn't raised your rent. What was your reaction to that? And by the way, I should point out, I drove by there the other day and it's still not rented. And Lisa's like, yes, it is not. Andy goes, you moved some of the elements of Pump over to TomTom. Why didn't you consult the guys before? And Lisa's like, I think, by the way, we didn't get the answer to Andy's question. What was your reaction to that? But I think it was just like, well, if that was true, we would have kept it. You know, what I had always heard that Lisa had stopped paying rent. There's I don't think a lot of clarity with the whole Pump closing situation. So they did move the pump sign, some of the signage over to TomTom. I think it looks way too busy and it really confuses things. I think it looks so weirdly janky in a bad way. Um, but Annie goes, why didn't you consult the guys before? And Lisa's like, I think we were in the middle of such a shit show with the backlash on TomTom. We were actually talking about changing the name of the whole place. And Annie's like, well, were you ever worried that Ken and Lisa were trying to turn TomTom into Pump Guys? And Schwartz is like, oh, do you mean like deleting the brand? The TomTom brand? Well, I didn't feel that way at all. And Annie's like, well, what is the TomTom brand, would you say? It's just lightning bolts and like semen. Schwartz is like, it's ever evolving, Andy. Also, they own like what, 5% each of that place. So, I mean, at the end of the day, Lisa did use their names in a lot of ways. They're not a part of a lot of the decisions of TomTom, but it's part of their portfolio, right? We flash back to Sandoval showing his design of the TomTom ground opening, the white blazer with the lightning bolt. We can't escape these lightning bolts. Andy's like, do you know, I have to ask, we have not seen Schwartz and Sandy's at all on the show this season. I have to assume there's a story behind that. Now, this is another extended scene, not on the regular Bravo broadcast. Sandoval scoffs. He's like, oh, well, when everything sort of happened, I took a step away and our other partner had an issue with filming. Greg, you guys remember Greg, right? The gruff guy. And he's like, he didn't want you filming. And Sandoval's like, he didn't want anybody filming. And Schwartz is like, obviously, this is like the best platform in the world to promote your shit. But then like it turned on us. We got the other. And Lala was like, he was giving you guys a tough time even before the scandal, wasn't he? Thanks, Lala. Schwartz is like, we did not have good communication. We're in a much better place now. And Anna's like, what's happening with it right now? And Sam's like, we're in a much better place, dude. Probably the best we've ever been. But yeah, it's been a fucking road to get there. Let me tell you. And Annie's like, well, I've seen your Instagram. It seems like, Tom, you've been allowed back in there. And he's like, yeah, dude, I've been going back in there, actively promoting the place, trying to get pussy. Oh, I mean, just promoting the place, just trying to do stuff. And it's gotten a lot better, dude. The people are starting to come in. The energy feels. And Schwartz is like, we have new food coming, new drinks coming. We have a new sound system. We have just, all I'm hearing is we put way more money in than we shouldn't have. We have an after party tonight if you guys want to come. And Katie frowns and Schwartz is like, but I totally understand if you don't want to. And Katie's like, I got to trim my cuticles. And Lala goes, you got to trim your pussy hair? Is that what you said? Guys, I didn't even make that up. That's what Lala literally says. And Katie goes, my cuticles. And he goes, tough question. But have you been able to pay your mom back yet? And Sandoval laughed. He's like, oh, no, dude. She's, I mean, she's the piece with that. It's not somebody that died, Tom. I mean, I guess her bank account did, but he's like, she's the piece with that. We're going to get there, dude. She did get free tickets to the El Rey show. I wonder if Tom, he'd like, sorry, mom, you got to pay for those tickets. Schwartz is like, we're in the black, dude. We're making moves. Wait, did Schwartz really said that Schwartz and Sandy's is in the black? There's no fucking way. There's no fucking way that they're in the black at Schwartz and Sandy's. I would love a follow-up on that, Andrew. Andy goes, Ariana, when Pump was closing doors around the corner with something about her and you all are having your own problems getting it open, to what do you attribute the series of delays? Because we're back here last year kind of hoping it was just about to be open. We flash back to last year in the conversation. And Katie goes, we did not know what was lying ahead, which was a bunch of red tape and all sorts of issues. And Andy to Lisa goes, what's your take on this? And Lisa's like, I say burn it down for insurance money. No, she goes, I disagree. I think it was a multitude of things, of disagreements, of Ariana being away. And Ariana gives a confused look to Katie, and Katie frowns and goes, what? And Lisa goes, look, you could get through your drain issue and your health issue in a year. And Ariana goes, we've never had a disagreement about me being away. And Lala rolls her eyes. Now, this is an extended scene. And Lisa's like, if it were just purely the city and the red tape, it wouldn't have taken a year. I've bought off more West Hollywood executives than you can even count, dear girl. Katie goes, but it has been to get through that. And Ariana's like, it has been that. And Lisa goes, a year? And Katie goes, well, we dealt with the whole patio debacle. And Lisa's like, no, I meant with Penny as well. They remember Penny Davies, the chef that we saw in the episodes this season and last. And Katie goes, Penny's not involved. And Ariana's like, hold on, Penny's not involved. And Katie goes, she's with us for 2 months. She was with us. That's not the issue. And he goes, well, let me ask you this. And Katie's like, she made sandwiches for us 2 summers ago. We get a flashback to 2022 with, the sandwiches being made, the Greek goddess, blah, blah, blah. And Lisa's like, Penny thought she was going to be a partner. That's what she thought. I mean, I remember when I introduced you to her. I don't know what the... this is wild too, because Penny does have her story of this, saying that she wanted 10% of not just this restaurant, of the entire brand, because I do think this is franchisable. Even if this West Hollywood one turns out to be a success, you could franchise this to Vegas, you could franchise this very easily. So I think Penny knows that, but it was not put down in writing. But she says it took their lawyers too far. There was more of an agreement. There's some text messages. I don't know, but it just seems like more money that's going to have to be thrown towards lawyers' ways. Very frustrating, I'm sure. And Andy goes, do you regret connecting them to Penny? And Lisa's like, if Penny ends up hurt, yes, I do. I've spoken to Penny. Wow. Lisa treating Penny like she's one of the men of Vanderpump Rules. Really standing up for everybody but the women of Vanderpump Rules. Schwartz mumbles. He goes, I think they regret it. Lisa's like, I think she had high hopes for building a brand with them and something went wrong, but I don't know exactly what it was. It's in the hands of lawyers again, right? Am I right? Or is it? And Katie's like, I think there was what we were looking for versus what she wanted to offer. We had different ideas of what, and Ariana's like, it was a mismatch. That's the end of the extended scene. I do wonder more about this, and I wonder their communication style, and especially running a place. I think Ariana can be very clear in communication. I think Katie takes a second to get there, it seems like. But she does have very strong opinions, and I think Katie is very smart in a lot of ways. I do wonder, and I think it's probably going to have to, they probably had to deal with this over the years of finding how they work best together. Is that this has now become very real and a lot of eyes are on them that weren't on them before. So it's probably a real learning process for them. Plus, a lot of people are probably wanting to be a part of this. There's a lot of hangers on for all of these people that just want a piece of everything. And he's like, given how much grief the boys took for how long it took to open Schwartz and Sandy's, Schwartz, is there a part of you that's kind of like, hold my beer? And Schwartz is like, no, but I feel your pain and I know how frustrating it can be. You're dependent on so many other people. Frankly, Andy, I'm still thinking about banging Lala from the last segment. And DJ James Kennedy's like, but a small part of you, I saw that smile, literally went ear to ear when you said it's still not open. Your face went vroom. They rewind 130 seconds, 6 seconds earlier to see Schwartz breaking in a huge grin in slow motion. And sounds like, no, dude, it's more like now they get it, dude. They understand. And Schwartz is like, no, I wasn't taking pleasure in their pain. And Ariana's like, I got it. I understood the entire time. I was very supportive of Schwartz and Sandy's. And Andy goes, okay, I want to talk about something different. How did it feel, Ariana, for you seeing Lala interacting with Sandoval this season? Did it make you want to take a step back from her? And Ariana's like, no, I think that and Lala interrupts. I want you to be honest. Did it make you want to, like, why are you, I want to get a reaction. Please give me a reaction. And Ariana goes, okay, I have to be totally honest. I haven't watched any of this season. And Sandoval makes a, whoa, zoinks, whoa, dude. We're paid to watch this. No, we're paid to be on this show. Oh, no, but still. And he goes, why didn't you watch the show? And Ariana's like, previous seasons, I would watch everything. But this one, I felt like I did not want to get dragged back to the time of my life when I felt like I was really trying to live in the present and focus on the future. And Lala goes, but I was transparent with you all season, yo. And Ariana's like, yeah. And I think there's something that I really appreciate about Lala. Like, as a person, you've said to me, I'm working through stuff of my own, and I was aware of that. And Annie goes, Katie and Lala, there was some tension between the two of you this season that bubbled up on multiple occasions. And we have multiple scenes of Katie and Lala kind of going at it where Lala's like, disengage. I'm Meredith Marks. And, and at girls' night out when Lala snapped, it's not my job for my life to make sense to you, Katie. And Andy's like, what do you think it was at the root of why you two weren't connecting? And Lala doesn't look at Katie. And Katie's like, I think we spent some time trying to figure that out. And Lala goes, I think I know exactly why. So here's Lala is like big, what she wants is the big drop the mic moment. And then he's like, why? And Katie goes, no, I think we did eventually figure it out. It started, because her and Scheana started getting close and Scheana and I were not in the greatest place. So I felt like, okay, well, that's going to, I was like, okay, well, what's that going to do to our friendship? And then he's like, and did Katie getting close to Ariana also affect your relationship? And Lala goes, well, here's the difference. I treat my enemies like my enemies, but Katie and I have come a very long way. So I want to choose my words wisely when I communicate with her. In the DM, the initial DM, when she was upset about Scheana, what she had put in there was extremely hurtful. But it's how Lala is so weird. Like, I want to choose my words wisely when I communicate with her. She's right there, Lala. Communicate with her. Like, don't explain I'm a general in a war. And he's like, well, what did she say? And Lala goes, she just talked about my custody battle. And Katie's like, what? When? When did I? And Lala goes, yeah, you did. You said, get rid of your lawyers because what you need is a fucking therapist. You're a fucking clown. Which is kind of funny. Like, not that it's custody, but you're a fucking clown part. Also, I just find it weird. It's like, listen, I believe aspects of both of them, their stories right now. But listen, it would be nice, Lala, if we maybe saw a screenshot, if it's a DM, like, let's see it. we do have the power to show text messages on this format. Katie goes, I didn't say get rid of your lawyers. I said, Lala goes, yeah, you did, Katie. You said get rid of your lawyers. What you need is a therapist. And Katie goes, I didn't say get rid of them. I think I said, and Lala goes, whatever. And by the way, I will say, Lala is a more effective communicator than Katie is. Katie, I think, has so much good intent and can really, if she thinks about things, really nail you to a wall if needed. And but I do think that in this format, Lala is always going to be louder, and like Katie kind of fumbles sometimes with her words in the scene, and I think she potentially wasn't ready for this line of questioning. I don't know. Lala goes, whatever you said, what I know is, and Katie goes, I never said, and Andy goes, well, did you call her a clown? And Lala goes, yeah. And Katie goes, I think I said I called a clown, but it really wasn't a custody battle. It was like, I did recommend a therapist, which I think everyone needs a therapist. Now, I do believe that Katie probably in anger did say, you need a therapist because you're a fucking clown. I could see that being said. Lala goes, and I think everyone needs a therapist too, but this is what it made it so that I feel you and I were on Rocky Round going into the summer. So let's wait. See, this is what I don't get though. If we're talking about bringing things onto the show that are real, and this is what made your rocky relationship, why wasn't this talked about in a scene? We're leading into this whole section about Ariana and Katie. Well, why wasn't this, like, this is between you guys? Why wouldn't you have this argument of you called me a fucking clown and I need a therapist? Why wasn't this scene in there? I'm so curious. Why did it need to be Katie going against Ariana? But to me, this is fascinating. We get another flashback of them fighting. And then Lala's like, my intention was not to make that about me. It was for you to understand, like, I see you. I want you to know I see you. And you jump down my throat. And I'm like, what the fuck is this? And Katie goes, the way I was seeing it was she didn't see the situation being similar, which I didn't always see it being that way. Then see, being yourself in her shoes, you are in this place. You are now looking back with all of the miles behind you. This is what I'm saying. Katie, it gets lost a little bit. I'm like, I don't understand exactly. I know, like, I'm like, wait, what's happening here? Lala goes, so don't you? And Katie's like, hold on. She's 5 months into it, talking about Ariana. I was just like, stop telling people how they should be handling the situation. Okay, we're back on track. Yeah. Lala, stop telling Ariana or people how to feel about this situation. Lala's still doing this and saying she's not doing it. Lala goes, I was giving her a heads up because I was probably going to go kick it with Sandoval. They could be BFFs. This motherfucker was playing pickleball, talking about Schwartz. I had to get over that shit, but you didn't. You like nailed him to the wall in an episode. She goes, I would have paid a lot of money to have someone say, I've been where you are. This is how I dealt with it. This could be beneficial, or throw it out the fucking window. I don't care. And Katie's like, that's not what you were saying. And Lala goes, that is exactly. Am I going insane? And Scheana's like, no. Scheana answers. You can really tell Scheana and Lala's very strong friendship. And Scheana, like, you can obviously tell Lala has already told Scheana all of this. So Sheena's ready. Sheena's ready to be in there for her pal Lala. No, you're not crazy, Lala. And I think to add on, Scheana says, to some of the issues you have said that you felt like conversations you guys had before this season, that you kind of went back on some of the things you said and how you felt and how you were supporting her and being like, yeah, it would have been nice if people rallied around both of us. So they're talking about conversations that Katie and Lala had before the season started filming. And Katie goes, yeah, who wouldn't want that? Who wouldn't want that? I talked to her, meaning Ariana, about that. And I was, yeah, objectively, fuck yeah, I would have fucking loved that support. And Scheana goes, I just think that when it started, she felt like you were her enemy. And Lala goes, I felt abandoned by you this season. And Katie looks shocked, and Andy goes, wow. And Katie goes, because I don't jump on the Tom train or what? And Lala goes, wait, hold up. I didn't jump on the Tom train either. I mean, you got to skipped onto it. I don't know. Katie goes, what abandonment are you talking about? Yeah, it's not the right word. Lala goes, I'm talking about you and I had conversations. And Katie goes, talked objectively about the attention and the public reaction. That's an objective conversation about the way the public was reacting. But the way I personally feel about our friend and the sport of all that, like, it's two things happening at once. And Lala goes, Katie, I don't like what you're doing right now at all. And Andy's like, what's she doing? And Lala goes, she's like, I did talk about that. It's like, no, you didn't talk about it that way. We both had conversations about this. And it was beyond just the support Ariana was getting. It was like that she basically abandoned you in the sandwich shop. This year, last time, you said she wasn't caught up on her rent for the sandwich shop. And Ariana is looking down at her lap. DJ James Kennedy is smiling. And Katie's like, what are you talking about? And Lala is like, I know what I'm talking about. And Katie's like, we were both paying rent. What are you talking about? Katie's like, we are both paying rent. And Scheana pipes in, did you confide in Lala and complain or bitch about the way you were feeling about Ariana when she left to go do Broadway and didn't give you a heads up? And Katie's like, what did I just say? Well, okay, that was the one time I wish I could have gotten a little bit of a heads up because I didn't find out about the Broadway thing until after. Like, that would have been nice to know. The issues I was having were because of my own insecurities. And Lala goes, you and I are truth tellers. Oh God. Fucking true. We say shit and how it is. So why, when the cameras go up, I'm suddenly the enemy when I'm talking about the same shit we were talking about on the phone? Katie's like, I wasn't making you the fucking enemy. And Andy's like, you think she was different on camera than off camera? And Lala goes, I think there were a few people sitting up here who was living in the comment section all the live long season. And Andy goes, and that's Katie. And Lala goes, Katie's one of them. Yeah. And Andy goes, who else? And Lala goes, I think Scheana lived in the comment section. And he's like, and you think that they, and Lala goes, I think James may have been in the comment section. Really, I didn't see the James one. And maybe he was just good at not reacting. I don't know. I just didn't see I see the Scheana one. I maybe see the James one surprised me. James is like, how am I lumped in on that? Good Lord. And Andy goes, and you think that their behavior was a result of seeing how the viewers were reacting to them? And Lala goes, well, it's no secret that Ariana is a fan favorite, right? You don't fuck around with that. I understand that. But once again, they're talking about, this is why it's like funny meta, because Ariana can't control that she's a fan favorite, right? Like Ariana's doing all this shit, just living. Now, there are some like elements of truth that could be truthful about this. Ariana might have, Ariana obviously might not have paid like rent on time, maybe at one point. Like maybe there's reality to that fact. Maybe Ariana did not tell Katie immediately about moving to Broadway. And maybe, listen, there are so many reasons behind that. Maybe Ariana was scared. Maybe Ariana didn't think about that. Maybe Ariana had to take this opportunity and not say anything. Who knows? But obviously, this was something that Katie was venting to Lala as a friend off season. And Lala thought, oh, this will be good to bring it on season. This is a good thing to bring on season. But if Katie then talked to Ariana about this before filming, then they would have been on the same page. So why bring it up again? But maybe I'm not seeing some element that Lala would think would make this amazing scene, because I think Lala said, oh, wouldn't it be amazing if Katie turned against Ariana? But Katie doesn't want to turn against Ariana. I don't know. It seemed like just kind of shady from Lala's, like, I don't know. And it seemed like, yeah, I totally could see Katie complain. Like, people do that all the time. They complain about their friends to other friends. Like, God, I have people that like talk shit about other friends, and I know they love those people, but they get frustrated. I'm sure. I know people talk shit about me. Like, I get it. I mean, I don't love it, but I get it. The reality of certain situations. But that doesn't then make Lala the arbiter of what gets on the air and what doesn't. And once again, I think this is a fascinating thing that should have been on there. Just the relationship. Like, I would have loved to have known the details of what was going down between Katie and Lala. But you chose to like try to do it as a mic drop moment on the actual reunion. Katie goes, but like I said, Lala, like I said, I came to you because I didn't want to go to her with the fucking drama. I didn't want to guilt her. So I went to one of my other friends to vent about it. But if you're not someone I can confide in with that shit, then I'll go to somebody else. I don't want to take it to her. Yeah. I think at this point, unfortunately, this season has taught people to not trust these people. I don't see Katie ever trusting Lala again this way. I don't see Ariana ever trusting Lala again this way. I see Scheana and Lala trusting each other, but it's like, you're just, when you do this shit, you ultimately, I think, cut yourself off from that information pipeline. And you make yourself somebody that these people won't go to because they've been on the show for 11 seasons. Katie will go to Dana. Katie will go to somebody else, not to you. Because I can imagine Lala being the most willing person of like, I will be here to listen to you, but then weaponizing that information against you. And I see that. I've read that about Lala, not read that, but I've seen that about Lala just watching the show. That's what I've talked about before. It seems like she's one way off camera and then another way on camera when she wants to make a really good show. And I just don't think that's what makes this show good. Lala goes, Katie, we had a phone call and you lost your mind on me. And Katie's like, yeah, because you wanted me to throw her under the bus, and how mad I was about it. Ariana now gets a look of shock and disbelief. And Lala's like, I wanted to film the show, a show we've been filming you guys for 11 years. And suddenly the name of the game is, I feel like I've shown up. Oh, Lala, she's always showing up. Lala Kent gets the award for always showing up. She's a producer's pet, but you can't say she doesn't show up. Doesn't have a lot going on in her personal life, but she shows up. Andy goes, you wanted her to be the same person on camera as you felt she was off camera. He went, no, it should be more specific. You wanted her to be the same person on camera as you felt she was in DMs. Katie goes, but I am the same person. Lala, 11 years, I've been the same fucking person the entire time. And Lala goes, that's untrue. You lost your mind. You said to me, I'm not going to say these things because I've invested a lot of money in this sandwich shop. And you said to me, if you're going to fuck with my business, Lala, I'm going to fuck with yours. What business? I'm going to fuck with your t-shirt line, Lala. That's it. And honest to God, I wanted to say to you, Lala saying this, something about her is really nothing about her right now. Lala's proud of that one. She's like, this is my next send it to Daryl. Nothing about her. Yeah. In fact, she probably was actively rooted against this. So I bet you, listen, I bet you $100 that there's some email or text sometime where like, hey, how quick could we get nothing about her t-shirts made if we needed to? She's like, it's really nothing about her right now. You don't get a business. And mine is my livelihood that I support my child on. So how dare you threaten to fuck with it? Katie calmly just goes, okay. I don't, also, yeah. If Katie did invest this money, it's like, yeah, I don't want to fuck with something that's not open. Lala, you're like, don't fuck with that. Do you understand this is real? Like they actually do have a real business. This wasn't just for the show, which a lot of people were accusing it of. Katie did invest a lot of money into this. So why would she want to, like, that does make a lot of sense to me. Now, Katie did, after this aired, she put this out on her Instagram, this statement about it. She says, I'm someone who has suffered from imposter syndrome for as long as I have known myself. Hence why I was apprehensive about opening the sandwich shop on my own. So when Ariana was going through not only a world of hurt, but also getting some amazing opportunities, that changed a lot of things during a pivotal time. I was extremely sensitive to what she was going through, but also very supportive. I was also dealing with immense insecurity about what I could take on and simply didn't want to put that on her. I had an emotional response that didn't feel appropriate bringing to her front door, so I went to where I felt safe or where I thought was safe until I could find the appropriate conversation was to have with Ariana, which of course I did, and we have had plenty of since. To know me is to know I value trust, loyal, and integrity. So this is her talking about this scene in particular. But, at the end, what she says here, until I could find the appropriate conversation was to have with Ariana, which of course I did, and we have had plenty since. So she's saying we've had these conversations now and plenty since. So why try to dredge this up to make this relationship weaker, which is what Lala's doing? I mean, Lala, I feel like she's studied at the hands of some really great Real Housewives seasons, and it just doesn't seem to be working for what Lala is picturing in her head. But it is interesting that there's almost this kind of like coup in a sense of trying to take Ariana down in some ways. And when you have this kind of all of a sudden celebrity, it is interesting. Like, Ariana cannot do anything and she can still try to be, people can still try to paint her as a villain because they just don't understand why this person all of a sudden has become so popular. Lala, you can tell, she even says it last week in the after show, all of a sudden, like people didn't give a shit about her. And now what she says goes. Like, it almost seems like it personally offends Lala. And that is fascinating to me. And, there's sometimes is no rhyme or reason to celebrity, but once you're there, it's like what you do with it. And Ariana is like killing it with what she's doing with it. But there is this now like target almost on Ariana's back of what can we dig up on this person? It's very interesting. Okay, so now we have scenes from part 2 of the reunion, which aired tonight. We're not going to do that because we'll do that on Thursday's episode. And now Juliana also took notes on the fantastic after show of this, which is just like different groupings of these characters talking about certain moments. So producer Jeremiah has Lala with James and Scheana in this first one. And he's like, why do you think you and Katie were at such odds this season? So we continue on this line of questioning, and Lala is like, I think we were at odds because from my point of view, she was not very honest this season. And I don't recognize that, Katie. Like, the reason why she and I really freaking connect is because we are no bullshit. You may not like what comes out of our mouths. It may be harsh or aggressive, but like, this is what it is. And I can remember the phone call well. It was a phone call between myself, Jeremiah, and Katie. And I thought it was going to be a great phone call. In fact, Jeremiah asked us, like, do you want to do it solo or should we have you guys together? And I was like, just loop us in. Like, that's my bitch. And Scheana barks, fuck you, Lala. And like, pretend hangs up. And Lala's like, yeah, it was very intense. And then we cut to Katie with Ariana, and Katie's like, she was accusing me of like not being something and almost like something having to do with me and Ariana, but I don't remember exactly what it was pertaining to. Back to Lala, and she's like, we went over conversations that Katie and I have had about certain things. And I told Katie, like, these are the things that you have said, and I don't know why you're shying away from this conversation. So basically, just to catch you up too, is that, Jeremiah or the producers on all shows, not just this show, they'll have these calls or these meetings of potential storylines. Well, what's been going on in your life? What's going on? What are you guys doing? What are you talking about? Have you hung out in the off season? So these are normal things of trying to think about like certain storylines. This is why, these things are planned out. It's not just like, let's see what happens when the camera goes up. No, you talk about what's going on. Like, oh, that's interesting. That's a conversation you've had. Okay, that's interesting. So that's what this refers to. And Katie goes, I don't fake the funk here. Like, I can't do that shit. If I'm not genuinely upset with somebody at that time in that moment, I'm not going to get myself upset with them. It's not going to happen. So Katie's saying, I'm not going to relive something that I'm already over. So Lala's trying to bring up something that Katie is saying is in the past. Now we cut back to Lala, and she's like, and she said, if I start fucking with her business, she's gonna start fucking with mine, blah, blah, blah. And then she's like, let's start there. Something about her is nothing about her as of right now. It doesn't exist. Okay. I have a real life business. Okay. So let's start there. So she uses the nothing about her again. So Lala really proud about this nothing about her, where she brought it up the reunion and on the after show. So you could tell she really was, she thought this was like a send it to Daryl thing, I think. Lala continues, she got so furious about this, Katie, and at the end of it, she was like, fuck you, Lala, hung up the phone, and Jeremiah said, are you still there? And yeah, I'm a grown-ass woman. See you tomorrow. Can't wait. And Scheana laughs again at Lala. And Lala was like, that was the start of the season. Yeah. And James is like, damn. Katie goes on her scene. She's like, it was a ridiculous fight. But anyway, I do remember that. Lala, now seated on a different day with Brittany now, keeps talking. We've had a discussion, you and I and Katie, about the group being like the bobbleheads that Ariana and Tom surround themselves with. They both do. And how you've turned into one. How do I talk to you? How do I fucking talk to you? So I think what Lala is talking about are the groups of people that, like what she said, that Ariana and Tom surround themselves. Lala calls them bobbleheads, but in reality, I mean, that's just shitty. I think, in a lot of ways, I mean, you have Meredith that has been her friend, Ariana's friend since high school. You have Logan, who's been through they met in St. Louis. And all these people, but these are their real friends. They're not on the show. I mean, you got the Brad character. You got you have these people that I'm sure they are potentially considered weird or maybe hanger-ons types. But I don't like for Meredith. I mean, that's just not they grew up together. Like, it's ridiculous. Maybe Lala is confused about that because she doesn't have a lot of those people in her life. It is interesting though to watch on the Valley where some of these side people in their lives are actually become like they're getting finally like screen time. Not that that's what they were after, but it is interesting. And I feel like it almost makes it worse for some of these Vanderpump Rules people that are on the show of like, listen, kids, if you hang out long enough, it could happen. Not that that's the goal, but it is wild that you're starting to see some of these people actually make it to the screen. And even though I think a lot of these people would swear up and down that, no, I would never want that. I think at the end of the day, people do want to be on TV. I think at the end of the day, and I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, but I think some people aren't honest to themselves if they say otherwise. But I mean, I think it's really offensive of Lala calling them bobbleheads. And it's like, well, these are the people that they're friends with. Like, I can't speak to Tom, but I do know some of the people that Ariana surrounds herself with. And I'm not saying like, I'm sure some of those people have their own ulterior motives, but that's their discussion, right? Like, that's there, but she's saying Katie is potentially turning into one of those. It's really fucked up. But Brittany's laughing. It's like, oh wow, what happened? And Lala goes, well, she said many times that Ariana needed to be out of the house. There was no reason why she should be in the house still. So she's throwing Katie under the bus again. And that's when cameras picked up. It was like complete opposite. Everything Ariana was saying was making perfect sense to Katie. People can change their minds too. Like, it's so funny. Like, yeah, like it doesn't make sense. And then you talk to someone and you're like, oh, okay, now it makes sense. It can sometimes just be that easy. And Lala's like, and I'm like, take Katie out of it. Insert Scheana in the same situation. You'd be having a fucking headache. Could you imagine? I can. And it would be very different. Things like that. And she was getting annoyed about, I'm the only one doing shit for this sandwich shop. Like, where is she? She's always late on half the rent. Okay, yeah, this is a normal friend bitching. Like, that's what this is. It's bitching. And also, I totally, like, I can see Katie doing this. I can see I've done this. You've done this. We've all bitched. But like, is this the storyline if it's not actively happening? Or do you believe that Katie is legitimately scared of Ariana? Do you believe that? I don't believe that. I don't think this has been proven. Lala continues like, I don't understand what's going on. She's dropping the ball. I think she was very worried about rocking the boat when she's invested hundreds of thousands of dollars into this restaurant and her business partner is Ariana. Like, I can't say I wouldn't feel the same way. I probably would. And Brittany shakes her head in agreement. Just really happy to be on TV again. I'm happy to be here. She had opinions. The thing is, like, you can have opinions and still have Ariana's back. Yeah, but then let Katie do that, you fucking dolt. What are you talking about? It's just like, think about your situation, Lala. And anyways, producer Jeremiah is like, you told Lala that since you've been with Dan, your thoughts and feelings have changed a bit about having a family. Ariana's like, yeah, I don't want people to get this misconstrued and think that I just started talking to this guy and, impregnate me. It's not like that. Ariana's like, he's the first person that I met and was like, oh, is this what that would be like, where it could actually be positive? They flash back to that scene with Lala. And Lala on this topic goes, that's crazy. God, Lala, is it any crazier than it's so fucking tone deaf. Producer goes, do you remember that? And Lala goes, yeah, I was happy about that. And James like, see, that just goes to show you when you feel comfortable with someone you truly love, you're willing to fucking have kids with them. That's just how it is. You know, she's probably never felt 100% comfortable. And that's because Sandoval never gave her the security, technically, because he's always just like busy Sandoval. You know, he's like in his own fucking world. Back to Ariana says, I've learned a lot about myself through this shit that I've gone through. And one of the things that I can handle whatever comes at me. I think that knowing that now about myself and knowing that, oh, people do have partners out there that are really solid support systems and almost kind of like make you feel like even more so you can handle anything and do anything. You know, it's like the weaponized incompetence is not a thing across the board with everybody. So yeah, that's an amazing thing to learn about partners, right? Katie goes, emotional safety is not a myth. And Katie goes, listen, I don't know anything about that. So I trust you. I believe you. Now back to Scheana. And she's like, we did talk about it a little earlier in their relationship. And she said the time she spends with Summer and just seeing Dan with his nephews and whatnot, it's something that she changed her mind a little bit on. But she said she still would never be pregnant. So I don't think she's ever changing her mind on that. And Lala's like, well, luckily you don't have to be pregnant to have a baby. And producer Jeremiah's like, she's got her eggs frozen, right? And Shayna's like, thank God his sperm has never touched them. Talking about Tom. They talk about the embryos and thank God that never happened, that they were never fertilized. And then producer Jeremiah moves to DJ James Kennedy. He's like, James, you had initially agreed to open for Tom's El Rey performance. Like, yeah, I'll come see the band, bro. I'm excited, man, for the show at the El Rey coming up. I'm there being a good friend, okay? But then he just has to keep going, keep going. I'm not fucking going to keep eating shit forever, Tom. Like, you're going to say one dumb thing and it's going to push me over the edge. And then we're going to get into an argument. And that's what happened. And Jeremiah's like, you threw some digs back. Good. I should have. Fuck. What did I say? Tell me what I said. And they flash back to that amazing conversation where Kennedy to Sandoval's like, rewrite history in your mind and have fun with your fucking band. I'm not opening for you at the fucking El Rey. I've moved on to bigger and better things. And by the way, he has. He performed at Electric Daisy Carnival, the biggest like EDC, the biggest fucking electronic music festival this weekend. He had a slot there. Did the fucking after party at Coachella. The guy really is on fire right now. He really, I mean, like surpassed, I would say, in a lot of ways, all of them. I mean, like, separating from podcasts because his fucking, it has a little bit to do with Vanderpump Rules, but at the end of the day, he's not just playing, raise your glass over and over again. It's like, why? It's really cool to see. It really is wild. Anyways, Jax and Sandoval and Schwartz, they have a little thing. And Jax is like, he said, I've gotten too big to play with you. And Sandoval's like, I mean, he DJs for you next Tuesday at Thur. And Tom, like, this is the El Rey. I didn't mean like he's less than. The El Rey is a great venue, but like also El Rey, it fits about 800, 900 people, right? Like it's cool. Like I love the El Rey, but it's not, EDC or After Coach. I mean, they're just different worlds completely. Anyways, another flashback to that conversation where James points to the band. This is a joke to me. I gotta go. Bye. James in the after show goes, I was like, you know what, Tom? Fuck this stupid band and fuck you because you all suck. I mean, you've got 10 plus band members. There's like a new wannabe rock star in the back right there. I've never seen him before in my life. Brock laughs, but it's true. Like new band members just pop up. And Sandoval in his little talking head goes, I mean, they're all like very accomplished musicians. I don't think they took it very seriously. I think they assumed that it was coming from someone else. Like they were just collateral damage. And Schwartz whispers, I know that feeling. Back to James. He's like, legendary venue in LA. Thought we could have one last good moment. Maybe the start of something. I don't fucking know. Like, I don't need to do that right now. I'm playing the biggest shows I've ever played in my life. Like, I do not need a fuck given. Look, I was just trying to be a good fucking friend, right? I showed up still to the show, even giggled a little bit with Schwartz. How could I not? But that still shows me being a good friend. I mean, who's not going to laugh a little bit when he fucking breaks into a high pitch like, fucking hell, is that the trumpet or him? I can't tell. God damn. Sandoval was like, it was awesome, dude. It was a little bit nerve-wracking because it was our first time playing the El Rey. We flash back to the El Rey and Joe going, I love them. They're so good. And Sandoval's like, it's always like really hard to get people out to your shows in LA. It's a very competitive market. It's kind of like when I did it, trying to get people to my improv shows. Brock's like, hey, for me, like when we could see him, we were in a different friendship with him. So for me, I saw somebody that is living out what they want to do. They want to perform. Exactly. That's it. Exactly, Brock. Like, it was great. It was great to see him. Like, it was fun. James like, cool, good for him. Look, when it comes to cover bands, I take art in finding a fantastic cover band. When I'm out and you just stumble across that bar with the right group of people and the best cover bands on, you're going to have the night of your fucking life. I pray that cover band is not Tom Sandoval and the Most Extras, okay? Because it's a joke. Have fun. God damn. Jeremiah's like, Schwartz, you and Lala at times felt a bit flirty. And he's like, yeah, I guess. We flash back to all these flirty scenes, which we saw throughout the season. The big offending one to me was at the pool party, or like at the very beginning of the season. Schwartz to Jeremiah goes, I'm softcore flirting. And Jeremiah's like, can you define that? I guess I'm innocently flirty. Like, I don't have any expectations. Not that it's empty flirting. A lot of it's like you're trying to lift another human being up with your dick. I just love that. It's like, it's flirting without any expectation. He's like if it works, great. But if it doesn't, no skin off my dick. You know what I'm saying? We flash back to the meditation session in Tahoe with Schwartz and Lala. And then Schwartz is like hearing them out, like being a genuine, compassionate listener as they're telling me about their life, validating feelings. Yeah, man, a hardcore flirter would probably be someone who, and Sam was like, is a little more aggressive. Exactly. Yeah. Someone I'm not saying they're predatory, but like, let's just say they're very ambitious about getting their pee-pee touched if they're a man. And Lala's like, I think I'm flirty by nature when I feel really comfortable with someone. And Brittany's like, I think he is too. And Lala's like, and I think the same for him. And I think he's very handsome. I just don't think we would be a good match. I think I'm a little too intense. More flashbacks with like Lala going, Schwartz, I would break your dick in half. And Lala to Brittany going, I definitely know I'd break his dick off. And Brittany's like, poor Schwartzy. And Jeremiah to Schwartz is like, do you agree? And Schwartz is like, I think she meant not literally, but I mean, not talking about the break dick off thing, but I think, and Jax is like, I think she means it literally. And Schwartz is like, I think she just can, in terms of her, sometimes her ego flare-ups or her temper, like everything that is give them Lala, the good, the bad, the ugly, the sweetness. And Sandoval's like, the tornado, just all the things Lala. Yeah, and she's not wrong. I couldn't handle Lala. Respectfully, no, because I think Lala is smoking hot. But just no, we don't have chemistry and we're just so differently. Sandoval's like, just way different, dude. These guys can barely string sentences together. It is so funny to this after show to watch these because when it gets to the guys, they can barely communicate. It's like really, it's weirdly like this is the problem with these. It's like weirdly charming that they're so like just can't even like communicate. But I also like Schwartz. Like Schwartz puts it out there. Like he knows that she's gonna say Lala's gonna hear Schwartz say that Lala's smoking hot. Like these things, he just chips away. He chips away at women. He chips away where they admit like, well, why not? Brock's like, listen, I don't see it happening. And DJ James Kennedy's like, I can see it happening. You can see it happening? Yeah. Damn, I've got the wrong point on this. I mean, like, Lala would just treat him as like her poor little brother. And DJ James Kennedy's like, well, that's what everyone in this group likes to say. If you're not a brother or a sister, then you're probably not banging each other either. Like, what the fuck is this? He's so true, man. Don't come, bro, fuck. Jax calling Doute her sister. Anyways, we go back to Schwartz, and Schwartz is like, my whole life revolves around that bar industry, kind of. It's like inevitably that probably is going to become an issue, even though Lala is super fucking cool about other people. She's never like, she's rarely judgmental. She doesn't pass judgment on other people who do like to party or do whatever, right? But like, I feel like inevitably there might be some problems there. And Brittany's like, Katie would die. And Lala goes, by the way, that would never happen. He would never do it. And I would never do it to Katie. But also it just wouldn't work. If I really, like, they're talking about it so much. If I really, she goes, if I really was like, damn, I have mad feelings, I could talk to Katie and be like, where are you at with this? And Brittany's like, always got to check in, girl code first. And Lala goes, but maybe I could say that I would check in because I just never would, because we're talking about something that would never happen. I just think I might eat him alive. Like the slides, talking about his footwear. Like I'm not a big foot person. Back to DJ James Kennedy's like, you don't think Lala's thought about it or like Schwartz has thought about it, because they definitely have both thought about it, and when they're fucking flirting with each other, like that's honestly, it's kind of fucking like, it's obviously a bit weird, right? And how many crisscrosses are going to happen, I can't say never, right? DJ James Kennedy makes so much sense as we get further into this season and the after shows. He's like, yeah, we can't fucking say shit anymore. I can definitely see that. Fuck yes, DJ James Kennedy. By the way, Juliana points out on these notes that Brock is still wearing the 4-inch women's shoes with the heels on them. They just really are amazing. And then Jeremiah's like, let's talk about guys' night. Guys' night! It was a bit, and James like, very strange, very strange. That was when they went out to that meat dinner, all the guys and dressed up, and they ended up talking about, Sandoval brought up Raquel. And Schwartz is like, of all the subjects you maybe could have used to sort of, and Sandoval's like, I didn't just bring it up, dude. I was asked questions. And Schwartz is like, you could have talked about the Dodgers or something. And Sandoval's like, I don't watch the Dodgers. French fries, or like, I just thought, it's like, I'm not saying it was like your icebreaker. And Sandoval's like, hey there, James, by the way, how about that Rachel? And they laugh. We flash back to Sandoval word throwing up in front of James, and James kind of being like, what the fuck? And DJ James Kennedy's like, Like, and she stopped calling me back. Dude, I've been waiting for my call. I've been waiting for my call at night and she wouldn't call me. And I was just like, what do you want me to do? Come over there and pat your back? And Scheana's like, the fight with this girl has done like, she's in a mental health care facility right now, trying to work on herself. And here you are like, poor me. She abandoned me. I was like, and Lala goes, she was not partying in Miami South Beach. And James is like, but honestly, I'm intrigued by it. Like, I mean, not really, but kind of like, just let's hear it, mate. Let's hear it, you fucker. Like, you know, James Kennedy, like, please, Sandoval, let's see where your mind is at. Sandoval back to him. He's like, it's weird because I was trying to reconnect with James and being open and honest and transparent. And one way of being that way is about my feelings for Rachel at that time. On paper, it's awkward. And Schwartz is like, I mean, it's awkward. And Sam was like, but with us, it just somehow it's not that awkward. And Jack's like, didn't you have a relatively similar conversation when you were dating with Kristen? I just got an alert that Tom Hanks' son, Chet Hanks, pulled over by cops in Venice Beach. Chet Hanks will get out of the ticket by explaining the beef with Kendrick Lamar and Drake. That last part was fake, but he did really get pulled over. I just got an alert. Anyways, Schwartz is like, it's like awkward. And Sam was like, but with us, it just somehow it's not that awkward. And Jackson's like, yeah, didn't you have a similar conversation with Kristen? And Sam was like, I think I do. I vaguely remember him, but at that time, James was very combative towards me, dude. We get a flashback to a confrontation at Sir back in the Kristen days where James is like, you need to wake up and just be a fucking man and stop worrying about me, dude. And Sandoval was like, I don't care about you because you annoy me, James. You annoy me. And DJ James Kennedy's like, well, the way you're treating Kristen annoys me. Back in this scene, Sandoval was like, I did have like an outer body experience. Looking back, I was kind of outside myself. Being like, dude, you're talking to James about Rachel. And Schwartz is like, you helped them plan their fucking engagement party, dude. And Sandoval laughs. He goes, oh, this is crazy, dude. This is so crazy. By the way, I like to bust this out every fucking day. This is my Richella wrist bracelet from that engagement. This is real. That's real, baby. We get a flashback to planning Richella. And James is like, Tom, it's crazy. Weeks of planning. It's becoming a reality. And Sandoval's like, piece by piece, dude. Just like this teepee we're building at Richella, piece by piece. Schwartz in this scene is like, I think what significantly curbed the tension is the fact that James was in love with Allie. If he had never had found another girl, I think it would have been fucking cataclysmic. So true, dude. If James didn't have Allie, he would have fucking exploded. James is like, I'm working on myself. I'm working on patience, maturity. Like the old James would have been throwing drinks and yelling everything. And she's like, sometimes a drink needs to be thrown. And James is like, at least Brock was there to nod for me. You know what I mean? We flash back to that guy's night dinner. We flash back. Now we then go over to Lala going, they're both so dumb. I hate saying that. It was like, you really need to get out there. Not the thing to say. Like he's really been out there in a full on committed relationship. They're talking about when Schwartz told Sandoval that he's got to get back out there and start dating again. And Lala's right, man. Like, they're just fucking dumb. And James is like, but it's one of those Schwartz things to say when he's staring down at the table, when he's whispering it while he covers his face. He's not looking at him dead in the eyes. Like, look, I feel a little bit uncomfortable. Obviously, I think Schwartz was trying to ease the situation. And Jeremiah's like, Tom, tell me what it was like touring before the season started. Sandoval's like, touring, it saved me in a lot of ways, dude. The not drinking, maybe the not drinking saved you more than the touring. He goes, I had to do things that I felt like I could have control of because I didn't have very much control over anything. I was broke too, dude, but man, it was hard. It was so rewarding now looking back to like go out on stage when, like feel like everybody hates you, and you got to go out and be a lead singer in a band called Tom Sandoval and the Most Extras. Holy shit, dude. Yeah. Those people showing up, man, with like scumbags and cheaters, worms with a mustache t-shirts. They're all sitting in the front row and I have to go out singing in front of them, making eye contact. And George is like, this is like sort of a monkey's paw scenario. And it's like, dude, Tom Sandoval, I'm going to tell you the year 2023, you're going to be super successful. You're going to have a beautiful home. You're going to be on tour with your band and you'll have been on a TV show for like 10 years, but everyone's going to fucking despise you, And Sandoval laughs. He's like, dude, it was crazy, dude. And George is like, what was the first show like? We used to come out with a very and Schwartz was like, and you were sober. He had a face like this, essentially faced the mob. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to laugh. And Sandoval goes, people showed up not sure what they wanted to do. We had to alert security that they would throw stuff sometimes. And there were fights nearly every single show. I like that he's like, people died, dude. We lost 12 lives over the whole tour. And Schwartz is like, what? Yeah, dude. You didn't tell me that. Yes, dude. It's kind of like Pittsburgh. And Sandoval's like, people get kicked out, dude. It was pretty rowdy, dude. And he's like, no holds barred? Yeah, dude, but it was mainly between girls. And my Zara blazers. We initially would start off our show with like a slower building song, and we had to change it like a big in-your-face kick in the fucking door song. And George is like, to muffle the booze? Yeah, to make sure that nobody started any kind of chant or anything. And this is it worth it, dude? And also, what fucking world would you start with like a Mumford and Sons kind of slow jam? Like, I don't even care if people did. Like, why wouldn't you start every fucking song with a kick in the fucking door song? Like, hey guys, this is With or Without You by U2. Like, what the fuck? You're gonna start with a slow building song? What? I don't even think like normal cover bands would do that. What? This is Fast Car by Tracy Chapman. Anyways, he's like, and honestly, like people, we brought out such positive energy that a lot of people came, to be a certain way and ended up having a blast, dude. By the end, people would like have a good time. Turns out alcohol is crazy that way. And like people would be singing along with their heart out. They would like be leaving. They're like, okay, they're leaving. They're like filming on their phones, like fuck Sandoval, like just to make sure everybody knew that they didn't have a good time. I thought it was actually kind of cute, dude. And then I made sure at the end of the show to go out and say hi to every single person having to go on tour with the best thing that could have happened to me because I was able to reconnect with our fans. I slept with a lot of them in each town with people, humanized myself one city at a time, but also it gave me a gauge as to how people really were. Because because you're more of a recluse, Schwartz, was like, you get stuff thrown at you everywhere you go, like in the supermarket. Like, are people, no, Schwartz like, are people slashing your tires? Like, he's like, no, they're not, dude. They're actually like normal, chill, nice people. It's just online. It was so ridiculous. Hey, guess what? What? You can't polish a stone without some friction. And Sandoval smiles. You can tell he doesn't understand what Schwartz said. He's like, yeah, okay. That's right. There you go, dude. Yeah. All right, dude. Okay, cool. And Jeremiah's like, well, I want to talk about a very important competition this season. And we flashback to guys' night dinner. Brock is holding a round green card that signified the server to keep bringing them meat. And Schwartz is like, we'll all start green, and the first person to turn their card over to red is A pussy, and B pays for the whole tab. So they were like in a meat eating competition. I don't know. Schwartz is like, I'm a transitioning vegetarian. And Jax is like, what? It's like he was like, remember when he was like microdosing sobriety? Anyway, I don't know, you guys. Schwartz is like, I think I had a moral epiphany. Like, that's not true. I hit the wall, man, with the meat. Like, I felt like a fucking savage just eating slabs of meat and they just keep coming. Like, it felt barbaric, but it was cool. I don't want to talk shit about that restaurant. And they're like, what restaurant was it? Oh, it's Brazilian. They bring out the slabs and you have a little card that's green. And as long as it's green, do we need this? Like, do we need this in the afternoon? I didn't even fucking what? We're having a fucking conversation about meat sweats? Like, what the fuck? I want to talk about the Sandoval sweats over Rachel in the downstairs bed. What are you fucking talking about? Anyways, this is like literally the last fucking scene. Okay, so that's it, folks. A tight 3 hours. Well, I'm back. Thank you. Man. Oh, didn't miss getting this worked. Anyways, that was part one. Who knows if you will have listened to this because I know part two is tonight, but I wanted to get this out there to you guys for the people that did. Anyways, we'll be back on our regularly scheduled programming. Thursday will be part two of the reunion. We're going to do some Valley recap and we'll have some interviews. We're going to be back. I'm going to do some Patreon. I want to do Summer House. Anyways, I hope you guys have the best Tuesday ever. Having a good week and pray for me. Pray for me and pray for Vanderpump Rules. Bye.